We're live. Welcome to the Out There channel, live stream 181. We got two guests with us today, Robert and Earl Grey from MUFON. I'll just cue the intro music and we'll be back with you in a minute. You might be able to hear it, guys. I'll just direct it through to you. Is that too loud for you? Why is it not rotating? Should be. It's just really slow, Google. It's like 20 seconds behind us. There we go. Hello. Good to be back. Back on another live stream. I'll just pause the intro and turn off the echo. Okay, here we go. Hey. Okay, we should be ready to go, guys.
Hello.
Okay.
So hopefully we're trying out this new video chat called Jitsi. I suppose that's how you say it. It's an open source thing that's peer-to-peer chat and does away with the server in between. So if there's connection problems, it's going to be with the person's router and internet provider. We know UK is pretty rubbish for speeds for some reason. And of course they got the spy net there as well. So we'll see how it goes with Robert. First time we've got Earl on. I'm not sure how we can fix it on a person though. But Earl doesn't want to be on camera too much anyway.
I don't mind. That's all right.
For some reason you're portrait, but that looks pretty good on portrait anyway. So you're on your iPhone, aren't you?
No, I'm on my iPad actually.
We got Rene joining us. He's like the regular groupie. I'm just going to type the welcome message here first. So Robert will be talking about a UK abduction case that we've got through our group. A person wants to be anonymous, and he didn't want to come on and talk about it himself. But he's given permission for Robert to recount it. I think we're calling him Stan, aren't we, for the episodes? Robert?
Yeah, Stan. From the UK.
Right. I wish I could type a bit better. Abductions, that'll do. How's it going, Rene? Okay, so I'm not sure if we're going to be putting up much images, are we, at all? Alien Greys. So Robert talked about his abduction case last time, wasn't it, Robert? But how tall would the aliens that you...
I wouldn't say abduction case.
Well, a visitation case, but like mine was a visitation. But how high would you say your aliens were?
I'd say 4 foot.
Yeah.
One alien, 4 foot, I would say.
Yeah, that's the secular saying was the one I saw too. Would be about 3 to 4 foot.
The chest of drawers, I measured at 3'10".
Right.
And it was just above them, although it was slightly crouched.
So I've heard people talk about tall greys and short greys, but I've rarely ever heard about the tall greys. But Earl probably got a few cases where he's got people
Sure.
talking about those. So
Yeah,
we'll
so I'm
probably get
looking
onto
forward
that
to
in
it,
a
yeah.
minute. So you want to kick off your storytelling? I'll just get some images up, some greys on screen here. These little
Okay,
black-eyed.
so Stan was in his
Sorry, Stan. Yep, we just call him Stan.
yeah, okay. Yeah. Stan's in his mid-50s now, today. The first abduction event happened in 1990, so which makes him in his mid-20s then.
Right.
Okay. So he was with his first wife, and he was sleeping in bed with his two children. His wife was out in work. She was working nights. So he's sleeping with his two children, and he was lifted from his bed. He's seen what appeared to be a hole in the ceiling, through which he could see a light bright with beings beckoning towards him, towards the light. The light was so bright he couldn't make out any shape. The beings were vague. He doesn't really have any description for them at all, just that they didn't look human.
Right. Did he say what
Okay. The
colours?
light was incredibly bright, and this is one thing he couldn't, no colour. This is what he couldn't understand. He could still look at it despite how bright it was.
Mm.
And he found this confusing. He was tempted to be taken into the light, and something told him, don't do this. You've got two children there, you can't go. And although he was kind of paralysed, he managed to kick out. And as soon as he'd done that, the paralysis went, and he flopped down onto the bed, waking up the two children who were crying, very upset.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think he slept again after this for some hours,
Right.
but he recalled the events clearly the next day. So that's the first abduction event. So it doesn't sound super unusual, well, as far as abductions go.
No.
Earl, have you heard anything similar to that in the past? And the thing is,
Well-
you see, he could see the ceiling and the sky and the light and the beings kind of at the same time.
They didn't get him, did they? I mean, is that what happened?
No.
His kid, yeah. So it was an unsuccessful
Mhm.
abduction. Yeah. I mean, everything sounds kind of proverbial. The way that he described the light, it's not like normal light.
No.
It's something else. It's something else. But the best that we can describe it is light.
Mm. Well, if particles of light have a, you talk about symmetry in particles, like as a negative to a positive, so it might be what you call negative light, negative photons.
Maybe. Could be.
Negative
It could
energy.
be.
Negative energy is a big thing in quantum mechanics at the moment, isn't it? So.
Sure. You just sent me an article about the symmetry of physics and how most things there's a symmetry to, but they haven't really found a symmetry in quantum mechanics yet.
No.
And they're still kind of looking for that. There's a symmetry to Newtonian physics. There's a symmetry to even atomic physics. But as soon as you go subatomic, there's something that we don't understand there, and that's what my guess is that they're using, and it's not what we consider light.
Mm. But that article was more talking about the universe being like a holographic. Well, it had code inside the. Well, it was talking about string theory, and they found that there's coded information like zeros and ones embedded inside energy or something like that, and the fabric of the universe is what they called it. So they think we might be like a simulation or hologram, or maybe it's just how it sort of maintains the universe integrity. There might be other multi-universes that have different code, They call it error check codes.
It's a good simulation.
Yeah, I said to you, there you go, it's all solved. We're just like a TV show for aliens, and they come and fix us, and occasionally we see UFOs, which is a close-up camera getting close-ups.
Maybe, I don't know.
We don't know.
I think we're entertaining to them.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
Why else would they keep messing with us, you know?
Yeah. And of
But
course, the
Rob's
abductions...
story is...
Yeah, carry on.
Rob's story is very proverbial. You know, they'll oftentimes you'll see the room will flood with light. It's a different kind of light where you would think that, you know, you wouldn't be able to see anything, but you can actually see images of your visitors. Sometimes it will actually, the room will be flooded with light, but yet your visitors will look strangely shadowed, almost as though you're seeing them in the darkness. So it's something that we don't understand.
This is just what he said, actually, Earl. He said he could not make the features out. It was too opaque.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see mine clear as day, though. It was kind of strange. But anyway, what was the second part to his story? Obviously, he talked to you about an hour of it, so there was obviously a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, I'm done talking. I want to hear Rob.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's not that much more to talk about because I spent a lot of the time getting the guy relaxed. And fortunately, we shared the same football team, and I think that really helped with. So I'm not sure he was going to tell me the sequel to this.
Either, I thought there was a lot more to the story than that. Okay.
There's a fair bit more to talk about. I can tell you that now, but we've got to jump forward to 2002 now. A full 12 years. Nothing happened again up until then.
Right.
This time he's no longer with that particular wife. He's with his second wife, and he's actually sleeping with her on this occasion.
Right.
And again, he's in the bedroom. I didn't ask him if it was the bedroom of the same house or not, but I think it was. I'm fairly sure it was. Anyway, this time he's taken into the bathroom, from his bed into the bathroom where he becomes conscious. And there's an entity there that he said he felt fiercely attracted to, even though he knew it was alien, and he didn't even know if it was male or female. And he said it was like no attraction that he has ever felt before or since. He said, "For God's sakes, don't tell my wife that."
Right.
Yeah. Again, he can't make out any features, but he did say this thing had long, gingery type hair, and he's got an erection. He's incredibly provoked, and she's somehow taken his sperm. He doesn't quite know how.
Yeah.
Then this thing goes, and well, I'm almost embarrassed telling this story because it's just mental. No visible sex organs that he could see.
Right. Strange.
There was no evidence of semen were left behind. He made sure to clear that up. And then that's pretty much it. He gets back into bed. His missus is out cold, doesn't know nothing about it, and never did. I presume he's still with this woman today.
Right.
So you can see why he doesn't want to come forward. He said there was absolutely no drink or drugs involved in any of these cases, by the way. I had to ask him that, unfortunately.
Well, it normally goes back generations, doesn't it? So if he's been messed with, then his parents may have had something that they haven't said. And of course, did he say he had a brother or sister at all?
Never mentioned that to me. I didn't ask that.
Yes, that's the thing that we
didn't want to.
Yeah.
Didn't want to sound like the Spanish Inquisition. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Guy was telling this for the first time, he claims.
Have you heard anything like that before, Earl? What he's telling you about there?
Sure. It sounds a little bit like that one Brazilian case back from the 1950s. I can't think of the guy's name, but he's a lawyer, and he was brought into a room. They spread some kind of fluid on him that excited him. And the female alien came in, and she wasn't especially attractive to him, but he was absolutely attracted. And this gentleman, he was just apparently, the people that knew him and kept in touch with him through all the years said that he was perfectly normal, that there was nothing strange about him at all. But if you go back in lore and history, this is called a succubus.
Yep.
It's something that comes into your room in the middle of the night, and it has its way with you. And I think that there are different, probably different entities that are visiting us, and they have their different means and ways of doing things. But we know that there's sort of a DNA farming thing going on, and that sort of falls right in with that. So I don't have any problem with his story at all.
Yeah, there's an incubus as well, isn't there? An incubus and a succubus, kind of male and female.
Right. So that would be a succubus, although he didn't mention that he could even tell what sex it was. So I don't know what it was.
Right, this is it. Yeah, no idea why he was attracted to it.
Maybe he's got little gray babies somewhere at this point.
The guy you were talking about, the Brazilian guy, was Vilas Boas.
Right, it was Boas. That was the gentleman.
Yeah, he trained to be a lawyer. 1957 it was. He trained to be a lawyer after the event, didn't he? And everybody gave him a
He was a lawyer. He was.
Yeah.
So upstanding citizen.
So
he didn't have any other weird stories around himself either. That was it.
No.
So how many
abduction come up with something?
How many abduction cases are the typical alien greys though? Obviously you get various variations in the species and the abduction stories, don't you? So are they always the black-eyed grey body?
No, they're not.
No,
there's variations. I get a lot of cases with the proverbial 3.5 foot tall grays. Those are very, very common.
Mm-hmm.
You'll oftentimes have a tall that's standing overlooking things. That seems to be recurring with other people, and I know a little bit about that myself. There are people that sort of the browns that look like grays, but they have round eyes and they have pupils.
Right.
And they're more central to the face, like ours are. The grays are usually wraparound eyes, of course.
I've never heard of the browns.
But
that sounds
the browns are around there. I've been getting a few cases with brown aliens.
Have you had any?
They sound like the ant people from the Hopi
right.
lore.
So have they got big ears, but like the Hopkinsville case?
I haven't had any. Unfortunately, I haven't had any Hopkinsville goblins yet.
Right.
But
the
browns that are usually about 4.5 to 5 feet tall. They look like the grays, but they have, of course, dark brown.
You're breaking up, Earl. Sorry.
Skin and nipples.
All right, you broke up. You went robotic there for a minute. I'm not sure if that's
going to happen. Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Just repeat that last statement. You said the browns were, and then it sort of broke up. Then.
Well, usually they will have round eyes that are in front of the head. Sometimes they're kind of buggish looking, buggy kind of eyes. But they're not the same as the grays.
Let's see if I can find them. Alien browns. Any pictures?
You can put in ant people. Oh, there you go.
That looks
Except
more
those guys have black eyes.
Oh, right. Do they have normal eyes? Round eyes, don't they?
They have round eyes. They're rounder than ours.
We don't seem to have too much on the brown aliens.
Well, I talk to a lot of abductees and experiencers. People are visited, and a lot of people get visits. I mean, it's not so much abductions as you would think. Although I do get abductions, of course, but a lot of people are visited, and we usually call them experiencers, just because that is a safe word with most everybody. You call the person experiencer, it puts it on their terms rather than what's being done to them, right? And a lot of people are actually close to their entities. They don't hate their entities, they love their entities. Some people have been visited since they were children, and so it's experiencer is a good word for people that are having visits or being taken.
Yeah,
it seems to be the best term. It's what I usually use anyway.
Yeah.
Seems to be a lot of people left very disturbed after these incidents as well, though, isn't there? So it can go both ways, I'd imagine.
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, when it first happens to them, that there's ontological shock, as John Mack called it, where their baseline reality is kind of thrown out the window. And that could be very, very disturbing to a person. I mean, your baseline reality is tossed out. You're kind of, you feel like you're in the air floating, and so people will usually go one of two different ways. Either they kind of accept what's going on and they try to deal with it, or else they become really, really angry about it and they just hate their entities. I encounter people that feel both ways, or some people just sort of like are in the middle with it. That's the way I am about it, actually. I don't know that it's all benevolent. I don't know that it's all malevolent. I think that we're being visited by different entities, and I'm not sure of all of of what their agendas all are, but it does seem like there's a DNA farming thing going on. You do hear the hybridization thing going on.
Yeah.
I spoke with a gentleman yesterday who was showing a baby. Like you usually hear women tell that story, but this guy, they said that his son wanted to meet him. And now he was not really friendly with his entities. He wasn't happy about what was going on. But he was just sort of dealing with it. He was accepting it because that was the way things were. He wasn't able to stop it. And they asked him if he would mind meeting his son, and he said no. And they brought in a child to him that was a alien human hybrid. The hair was wispy, not a whole lot of hair on the head, and it was really kind of a cross between your proverbial gray and a human. And for him, that was a good experience meeting this child. They bonded for a few minutes, and then they say that he said that they took him away.
Right.
It's an interesting story. This guy hates his aliens, by the way. He actually wondered if I was a disinfo agent because I said that that I thought that it was neither malevolent nor benevolent, somewhere in the middle. He felt like I should be out there warning people and calling them demons, and I don't do that,
I'm just trying to see if there's an alien baby, but there's one.
That looked like one. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wonder if your volume's a wee bit loud there.
Is mine? I can turn it down.
Can you?
Sure.
I think it's just crackling when you talk a wee bit loud.
Is that any better?
Good to me.
Yeah, it sounds right on our end. It's going to Google, that's the problem.
Okay.
So, I think it might be alright. Carry on.
Okay.
I'll just monitor.
Well, I turned it down a little bit. I just turned the volume down on my iPad. I don't know if that affects the volume that you hear, but
probably not.
Anyway, there you go.
That's just what you hear, probably.
I'll try not to talk as loudly.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but you know, there's a lot of people that have had experiences out there. It certainly keeps me busy. I'm always talking to people through. Yeah, I mean, you know, I work for MUFON's experiencer research team, and I have that caseload, and then I have my regular caseload through MUFON, and there's time to sleep. You know, that's about it. I'm busy. There's a lot of people that are experiencing this. It's a worldwide phenomenon.
How many cases
and
do you
different
do a
people
month?
feel different.
How many new cases do you get a month?
It depends on the month, but usually a good, 10, 12.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And that's just from California.
Oh, yeah. We just, well, with the ERT, experiencer research team, sometimes I'll get like a couple cases from out of state, but usually not. It's usually centrified in California. I'll get Oregon once in a while, and I'll eventually get something from Arizona. I even had a case from Texas once, but it's usually here. But I think that this phenomena is pretty well spread out. It's worldwide. Different people from all walks of life are going through this. You do notice certain markers in common. There's usually a familial thing, like the mom will be talking about it to the son, and it comes up in conversation that they, parents had UFO sightings, weird missing time events. I have one. It's not a MUFON case. It's actually a friend of mine from high school, who Bud Hopkins was investigating her case along with her ex-husband, who was her husband at the time, and it involved the whole family. When unfortunately, when Bud Hopkins passed away, and so I've been talking with them, and I've kind of taken over the case myself privately. They didn't feel comfortable going through MUFON necessarily, but because I know the one woman, I've known her most of my life, and she's a nurse like myself, just a very intelligent person, not prone to fantasy. And they have a crazy story, where the whole family, I mean, they saw a UFO. They saw it looked like it was crash landing into the field adjacent to their house. And right before it hit the ground, it stopped midair and started shooting this blue iridescent light that looked almost like a black light looks, like, like a UV light. But it was like spotlights shooting out. And then it disappeared, and they started hearing this whining sound, like an animal or something, like distress from this field.
Yeah.
And over the next 2 days, they kept hearing the sound. And it was really, they called the police out to look, and the police couldn't find anything, of course. And the second night, the whole family, the house flooded with light, and the entire family was they have like 4 hours of missing time that they experienced. And Bud Hopkins was very interested in this case, but unfortunately he got sick and he was unable to investigate it properly.
So it wasn't an injured animal, like it was alien noise, or was it?
They said that it was. The husband described it as almost like a banshee sound. It was like this low caterwauling scream.
Sounds like scary horror type stuff.
I know. Yeah, it's very eerie.
Isn't normally when you hear the banshee, doesn't mean that your death is near or something? Don't people hear the banshee and then die?
Yeah, but these guys are all alive, though. Yeah. I guess that the mom has passed on since.
I thought
this happened back in the 1978, 79.
Right.
And Bud was investigating it, but then of course he passed away. But it's an interesting case, and there are many markers in that case that are very familiar to me, to other cases. But then there's a lot of stuff to it that's unfamiliar, that I've never heard before, like the screaming, caterwauling thing is very weird, and I don't even know how to explain that or what was going on.
I just wonder if
but they had light.
Yeah.
This is not a MUFON case. This is
No.
a private case. They didn't want to do it officially, but because she knew me and she trusts me. I spoke with the husband, and they're just I absolutely believe them, because I've known her for most of my life, and she's not a fantasy prone person. She's very reality based. That was why it was so strange hearing this story from this person. And of course, I'm going to keep them anonymous, because I'll tell you the truth. I mean, with all my experiencer cases, unless I'm just told by the person, I want my story out and I want my name connected to it, I always keep them anonymous. You have to. I mean, I've got the paperwork and I have the names and stuff, and especially with my MUFON cases, I mean, they're all established people that are part of MUFON or part of the experiencer research team, or that work on the CMS cases, can look in there and know that who these people are and who I spoke with. But this one particular case, I'm not going to speak names just because I don't. But it's an interesting one, and it's ongoing for me. For them, they're not experiencing any weirdness anymore. This was a one-time event. It's not like they had return visits or anything like often people have. This seemed to be a one-off, but it was a very weird one. The way they explained the light, when their house flooded with the light had a border to it, like it had a periphery to it. It wasn't like you switch on a light and your room floods with photons, right? This had a border to it, and it moved around the house. And they watched the husband watched it go up the stairs, and that's where the grandmother and his mom and dad were at, and the wife. She saw the light coming towards her, and she screamed at the top of her lungs, and then everything stopped. And it was the next morning. They're all like sitting where they were, and nobody was drinking, nobody was doing drugs or anything funny. They were just suddenly they're awake, and they're in the same place that they were 4 hours before, but the sun is just coming up. And a very strange case, and very, very good witnesses. I couldn't ask for better witnesses. I have like a Marine that put in a case recently that happened back in the 1970s. That's very interesting. A 2-witness abduction case where he calls it abduction. He feels like it was done against his will, that he was taken from his base. He was a Marine, and he was plucked from his barracks. It started out in his car. He was driving somewhere, and he saw a UFO. He stopped the car, and his dashboard suddenly had electricity going around it. And he saw the electricity. It was like wrapping around his car. Scared the hell out of him, and it made him angry because it was a hot rod. He put a lot of money and time and work into this car, But the electricity, he said it was like a Tesla coil, and then it simmered down. And he didn't know what a Tesla coil was, but he was explaining what a Tesla coil. When you go to the science center, the guy has the big arcs of electricity. I said, that's a Tesla coil. He said, right, that's what it was like. So he heard a voice in his head that told him, you are very sleepy. You need to go home and you need to go to sleep. The night was young. This is a young man at the time, a young Marine. He was built up, but he went back to his barracks even though he was off duty. And his friend, his bunkmate, was there, had decided not to go out. So he kind of told him, something weird happened with my car. I'm just dead tired. I'm going to go to sleep. He got into his bunk, and it was about 8 hours later that his bunkmate heard him like crying in the middle of the floor of the barracks. And he comes over to him, and the guy was completely covered in sweat, strange red and black marks all over his body. And the guy said that he was taken through the roof of his barracks into a spaceship. He said he had a really scary encounter. It was gray aliens. They were taller than they weren't the real tiny short ones. These were like 4.5 foot tall.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually told him that they were after his soul, that they owned him.
Oh.
Now, this guy was perfectly cogent. When I was speaking with him, I interviewed him a few times, as I do. This was a MUFON CMS case. It was one where I had to kind of have enough evidence to have an unknown status, but I really believe this guy. He was very, very emotional. I spoke with family members, and they said, "Oh yeah, he's been talking about this all of his life," and we were really happy when he finally reported it to you guys, because he's just been talking about it to us, and he wouldn't talk about it to anybody else, of course.
No.
He's afraid people would think he was insane. But for him, he was a religious man, and I think that his belief in Christ and stuff he was able to set some kind of a barrier or boundaries with these entities, and was able to make it stop. Because he did have another couple of experiences with these creatures. But according to him, they were after his soul, and I don't hear that
like
very often,
demons to me rather than aliens.
Yeah.
Paranormal.
But I don't know.
Mm.
But everything else about the case is proverbial, a proverbial UFO abduction. I mean, there was a craft, there was a silver table that he was, they tried to put him on.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to put him out, but this guy was somehow able to fight back.
Right.
And that really angered his entities. They didn't like that at all. But he was fighting back, especially when they told him that, we own you now. And he didn't like that one bit.
Well, I don't blame him.
And I took this very seriously. I didn't think, now we do get demonic attachment cases and even cases once in a while where, it's sort of like, well, you guys need to bring in you need to bring in a priest or somebody here, because this is beyond our realm.
Yeah.
We do get that sort of thing. But this particular case, I think that he just ran into just some really nasty renegade ETs that were just,
of course,
messing with him terribly.
If they can read the mind, though, they might use his religion against him. So, if they're like,
and I see that too.
Yeah, if they're evil,
or they'll use
aliens.
their original religion for them sometimes. I mean, I have, look at the Betty Andreasen case where her aliens were spouting Bible verses.
Oh no!
I had a guy who I had two different cases where they said, "Well, my aliens know the Quran." They were both Muslims, and they said, "Well, my aliens know the Quran. They believe that there's one God and his name is Allah." And it's very interesting, I don't know that I believe that they're Muslim aliens. I think that they just, that was his comfort level,
Yeah.
So, Rob, it's back to you.
Yeah, I need to recall as well that these abduction things go back hundreds of years, millennium even. I think they just interpreted things in a different way then.
I think so. Read the book of Isaiah in the Bible. He was taken up in the clouds. He saw, or Ezekiel, he was seeing wheels within wheels, and it sounds very much like an abduction. St. Paul in the book of Acts was taken up into the heavens and shown a vision and given a download, that we would call it. I mean, I have people that get downloads. I hear that too. And if you read the book of Acts that way, with that mindset, it tells a whole different story. It's not necessarily a bad story. I mean, they were trying to get him to be a little less stodgy in his religion. To me, that's kind of maybe a kindness that they were showing him. Yeah,
quite possibly.
Was there any more to Stan's case that you yet to tell there, Robert?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, just
only 3 days later,
just
74 hours later, things took another bizarre turn. What are you doing?
Sorry? Robert, you there?
Hello, you there? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay,
We can hear you,
now?
Rob.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so 74 hours later, okay,
Right.
he's taken again. This time he finds himself in a room which appears to be some kind of a spacecraft on this occasion. In this room, there's children running around about 20 in his estimation. One of them, though, comes over to him together with the being that he met in the bathroom, the one he basically had sex with.
Right.
And he said to me, he didn't think this was his child. He knew it was his child. And this is odd. I says, well, how old was the child?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, about 5 or 6 years.
Right.
So somehow this child has aged 5-6 years in the space of 74 hours or so.
Right.
Now, what kind of metabolism is that? I don't really know.
If you travel in space, you travel in time, and I think that they, they're, if to me, I keep on going the same way that Jacques Vallée and Hynek went. That I keep thinking more and more that we're dealing with something interdimensional, which is outer space as well. Or if it is interstellar, they're using other dimensions as well, and it's their playground. So if you go into a different dimension, time may move faster than it does here.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm not too sold on this space-time stuff, as you know. I don't think time travel is possible.
Not like Einstein.
No, I don't like this. I don't like this space.
We're not going to argue here.
Yeah, I don't like the time travel aspect of it all. Time only moves forward, but
what about if there's another dimension?
Well, you still
another dimension. Time can do whatever it wants. I mean, it's not going to move at the same level that ours does necessarily. It might move faster or slower.
Well, there could be other dimensions, but it doesn't.
It's folly to be too rigid in our belief system. So our understanding of physics presently isn't what it's going to be in the future either, is it?
No. We'll be like Isaac Newton was 300 years from now. I mean, we're just dealing with what criteria we have at hand here. But I'm sure we don't have all of it.
But we still don't know if
whole realms.
We still don't know if it's interdimensional or beings from other planets that just travel through the universe over millions of years, or found a way to Stargate, jump from one area of the universe to another. So that could appear to be like a interdimensional opening, a portal, but it might actually just be how they're sort of going through a upper dimension and energy, and then beaming back into our existence or the plane existence. So it's lots of things. It may be a combination of all things, of course, as well, because we don't know what paranormal is and how that fits in, which might be creatures also from another dimension, like animals, or what we call demons, maybe little creatures that sort of mimic us or wants to drag us away and eat us or whatever, because we do have a lot of people go missing in the world every year. So what happens to all them? You think that there'll be some evidence of bodies somewhere along the line, millions of bodies. Yeah,
you're going to Paulides' missing 411 or whatever that is. And I mean that is a question. That is a question.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we know that the speed of light is 186,000 miles a second, right?
Yeah.
I mean that's a given. We've measured that, and so if you're traveling in space, you're at least as far as what we see through a telescope. We're seeing what the Andromeda galaxy looked like 100 million years ago. That's how far away it is. But
you're breaking up
now. If you take Ben Rich at his word, hello. If you take Ben Rich at his word. I'm friends with Jan Harzan, and I've met Tim, Keller and those guys before. And those guys were at UCLA when they heard Ben Rich give his famous lecture where Jan stopped him and asked him, well, how do you travel across the universe without bumping into, time dilation problems and everything else? And he said, well, how does ESP work? And he said, well, every single point in the universe is connected to every other single point in the universe. It goes back to spooky action at a distance, And he said, exactly, that's how you do it. So, our visitors, they're one thing I think we can all agree upon is that they're far advanced from us technologically, to the point where it seems like magic to us. It seems much like magic. And so who's to say that they can't do time dilation, or they don't have some way to, they don't have some way where they can accelerate the aging process. So I have no problem hearing about, that he was introduced to a child that he'd conceived 70 some hours before that now appears to be 6 years old. It's the old Arthur Clarke meme. Any significantly advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, and it sounds like magic to us, but the iPhone would look like magic to Leonardo da Vinci, who was the magician of his time. They thought that he was magic, and we still look at his drawings and his ideas. They seem quite amazing to us still, but he would look at an iPhone and he would think that was wizardry. So who's to say? They seem to be able to do what they want. I think the only limits that they have are maybe self-imposed limits, whether there's like a foundation or something like you have in Star Trek, where they're allowed to do this and that, but not this and that. We still exist. Nobody's blown us up. People are taken, but usually they're returned.
Right.
Although the people that you're talking about missing from the forest and stuff, that is definitely an issue. Kathleen Martin, my boss at the ERT, Kathy Martin says that she believes that there's a group of renegade aliens that kind of do what they want. And they're sort of the prowlers or the cat burglars of our visitors, and they're not supposed to be doing what they're doing, but they do it anyway.
I wonder why they do it then.
They're juvenile delinquents, maybe,
Maybe they live 1,000 years or something.
Disturbing prospect, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there's bad humans out there. There are bad humans. Well, there's probably bad aliens. They're not angels. I mean,
could they be eating us or making body parts out of us, or who knows?
Hell, I hope not, but I don't know. I can't tell you that they're not. I mean, there might be some very, very evil aliens out there.
Right.
My experience wasn't fun. I mean, I have two different views about my experience, and I don't want to go and talk about it tonight at least. But I had one experience where I saw entities and I couldn't move, and it scared the hell out of me, and I didn't get a calming message from them. There was no kindness showed or no calming telepathic message. In fact, I didn't get a telepathic message at all. They just came in and they took what they wanted, which was blood and energy, as far as I know. They might have gotten other things, but thankfully I don't remember that if they did. And I don't really want to if they did. I don't want to know if I was probed. I don't think I was, but I don't want to know. But I've had long conversations with people that know a lot about this. I mean, the forefront of Peter Robbins and Kathleen Martin and people like that, and there are renegades out there that kind of do what they want, and maybe I ran into some of them, and maybe I was being dissuaded from being a ufologist. I don't know. It's strange it happened when it happened. I just started getting MUFON cases, and a couple weeks later, it's like, oh my God, how do I tell my state director this? I told him, and I got rolling eyes, and it's like, oh God,
Oh,
it was the most inconvenient thing in the world. And as you know, I mean, Paul knows, I told him about this a little bit. It's like I was very uncomfortable about talking about it, and I still don't like talking about it, but I do once in a while. I am now a little bit.
right.
But I think that we have different visitors, they have different agendas, and maybe not every agenda is good.
No.
Mhm.
So they're not space brothers.
I think we probably do have space brothers. I think we have I think we probably have I think that we have entities that are watching out for us. That's the other side of the coin. Is I've had a couple of cases recently, that I experienced synchronicity quite a bit in my life, and especially in dealing with my UFO cases that I'm working on. And I've had a couple of people that have had miraculous situations where their lives have been saved over and over and over again, where they should have died, where they should have, one guy, his car literally went off a cliff and it got caught on a tree. And it was 100-foot cliff.
Good
And the
God.
guy had he had the newspaper article about it. So I know it was a true story, And he said, well, that's only one story. And he just tells me this litany of experiences he had where his life was miraculously saved. And he said, I believe it's my entities that are doing this for me. I think they want me to be alive for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I had another guy that did this, that told me the exact same thing yesterday.
Yeah.
Exact same story.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Lifetime of is through his whole life, this guy I spoke with yesterday, which was another case, it was the same thing. He believes his entities have kept him safe.
Right.
So maybe we do have space brothers.
Well,
I like to think so.
We've got a guy
like to
called
think I do,
Vern. Vern reckons they were protecting him or his kids. I'm not too sure because he's married to a Indian lady, had a son with, and he reckons that he was speeding along the highway. And a cop saw him and was chasing him, and then this light come down from the sky, shine a beam of light at the cop car, and it simply stopped the car chasing him.
Wow!
And he was looking back in the
wish
mirror.
They'd do that for me. I just got a speeding ticket the other day.
Oh, did you?
They'd do that for me.
I didn't think you got any tickets. You're a goody two shoes.
Yeah. I was late for work,
Oh, right, yeah. You didn't want to get any aggro at work, did you? So, and where else do we go from here? So, this kid of his that was growing, was it 4 times faster or 5 times faster than it should have? It could be that they put it in
Well, he
last...
aged 5 to 6 years in a space of 74 hours, Paul.
Oh, 74 hours, was
That's
it?
wild.
I don't know if you could do that with cell reproduction or not. In the glass jars they talk about.
Time would have to be changed. It would have to be the essence of time itself that's changed.
Maybe not.
He's experiencing time at a different level than we are.
That is a strange.
If it's another dimension, you can do what you want, Paul. This is my belief in that. Different dimensions don't necessarily race at the same speed that our dimension goes.
Well, multi-universe.
Time is relative. Yeah. Well, same difference.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we can ever hope to understand that in our lifetime,
No.
I mean, fractals, if you look at a Mandelbrot fractal, you'll see the same design over and over and over and over, but it's always just a little bit different. And the deeper you go into the fractal, you've seen those designs. And I enjoy using fractal software just for my own personal fun and edification, and it looks pretty, right?
Yeah.
It's a fun way to do designs and stuff.
Yeah.
But
there you go.
I kind of think that the universe is sort of like a fractal, and perhaps there's different branches to it that they're similar to ours, but they're a little different. Maybe time moves differently there,
Yeah. So you got the magic number? What's that called? The golden number, 1/37 or something.
Yes, absolutely. The golden mean is what you're talking about.
Yeah. So which is what's that one that
My
creates the
friend
sparkle?
Terry Arbogast is way into that.
Yeah, that one that creates the shell of the thing here. What do you call that? Mandelbrot? Not Mandelbrot.
It is a Mandelbrot fractal there. That's just the edge of it, but
No. Well, what's
it looks like what you have on the right hand side of the screen. It looks like a fat Buddha. You just got away from it. There he is again. You got to go scroll up again. Keep on going. There he is. He's right there.
You know, the one
next over.
Yeah,
it looks like a fat Buddha sitting there meditating. Okay, it's turquoise. And you see the little black area. It looks like a beetle or a Buddha.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote Arthur Clarke again. He called that the thumbprint of God.
Right.
He said that the universe seems very much like a Mandelbrot fractal, and you can see just the natural way that our universe seems to present itself in evolution, where you see ferns and the way that they unravel looks a lot like the image to your left there on the screen. And he believes that the whole universe is just a big giant fractal. That's what it's built on. That's what Arthur Clarke thought that our universe was based on. And I tend to like a lot of Clarke's ideas.
Yeah.
I kind of grew up reading his stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But fractals are, you know, I mean, you'll see the beauty of a fractal. If you just had one little design, it wouldn't be anything. But the fact that it repeats over and over again, but there's just like very small differences that happen. You keep on zooming into it, and you're going to see these great differences. And it's just very intricate, and it's infinite. And I think that our universe is probably something similar. So you go into another little branch of our universe that may not be our branch, and time may run a little differently there. You know,
that's the one I was thinking of.
Or where our universe intersects with that part of the universe, time may have gone by a little faster for them than it went for us. It's a tributary, you know, in the river.
Yeah. Oh, that was the golden number there.
As I've ever heard.
The spiral goes in like that, like a fern. What's that Fibonacci sequence where then creates that curve?
Right. Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the
pretty
guy.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. So everyone's got little animated gifs here of fractals. Some of them pretty good. I like the little colour ones though. If we've got colour ones, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if we can open that one up. Does that rotate? It's not going
to. Yeah, it's a pretty one. There you go.
It's not going to rotate for us. The thumbnail works though. Unfortunately,
there's a real good fractal software app that you can get called Frax, Frax. I mean, you can just get it on. You know, you can get it on the App Store or whatever you use, but that's a really good fractal generator. I use that all the time, and you can get beautiful and intricate fractals. You get like not just Mandelbrot, but they have like the Julia set and some other variations too.
That green one on the right there is good. The one at the bottom corner here.
That's beautiful.
It looks like it's going into some vegetation or something.
Yeah, it looks like you're taking a microscope to hops that you make beer and ale with there.
Right,
my mind would go there. I'm enjoying my dark ale here, you know.
Yeah. I was thinking more of like green stuff in the garden, like what do you call it?
Cauliflower, except it's
the green one. What's that called? It slips my mind.
Broccoli.
Broccoli, that's the one. Yeah. And there's another one here that looks like a plant as well. See that? You can see it in nature. There's a plant.
Yeah.
But it's a fractal. Someone's turned it into a fractal.
It's very natural looking, isn't it? I think that our universe is based on the Mandelbrot fractal, probably.
That's definitely a fractal.
We see it over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that just looks like a succulent cactus right there. It's beautiful. and it's infinite. It goes on and on.
I was just going to say infinite. Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. Nanomachines. So that might be the future for our medical conditions anyways, nanotechnology. Hey, Renee's back with us. How's it going? Sounds good. They reckon it sounds good their end, so that's good.
Now, if you look at the human brain, you look at the cerebral cortex, the whole brain itself, it's like a fractal. You'll see the same shapes repeated, and it's almost like it started at this very basic form, and then it just expounded upon itself. I mean, the brain itself is like a fractal, and the galaxy that we live in. I mean, if you go back there, it looked like a spiral galaxy. You know, it's really interesting. I mean, the macrocosm and the microcosm are so the same. It's so very, very much the same. There you go. I mean, now that's a fractal. You look at that. It's all the convolutions, and the deeper that you go into the brain, when you take, I'm a nurse, and I did take, biology, anatomy, and physiology, and I have done a little dissection of. I had a neurologist friend who dropped a human brain in my hands one day. He said, "Hey, Earl, put your hands out." I was at work, He drops a human brain into my hands, and I'm like looking at that. I'm going, "Oh my God, that's the sum total. That's the whole universe, according to this person."
Yeah.
This every single the birth and the death and everything else, and the stars and the earth and everything and history. It's all here. It's all here. And I think that's it's just the way that it's folded, and that that it repeats itself with all the little tiny the distinctions that are repeated, but with the little differences, and that's where you get beautiful design. It's where you get beautiful thought. I think it's where poetry comes from. I think it's where where our leaps that we make intuitively are done. It's like it's the synapses leaps, and sometimes it leaps further than other times.
Yeah.
But it's all interconnected. I mean, you see the galaxy in fractals, you see the ferns in the forest in a fractal, and you see you see that in the human brain itself. So we're all parcel of, and every human brain, I think, is the whole universe.
Maybe our reality is just we're actually lived in someone's brain.
Well, that's true too. I mean, we can see only so far. 400 years ago, they thought that we lived in the the celestial sphere that was like this orb that everything was in, but of course that's expanded, and yeah, of course,
Yep. I'm just trying to see if we got any fractal galaxies here. Probably should type in galaxy. I got universe here.
Well, that's one right there. Yeah.
I'll try galaxy. See if we get more. And there's 1, 2. Yep.
You're showing me fractals there. Those are all fractals. But they're photographs from the Hubble.
Yeah.
But yeah, we live in a fractal. That's I pretty much believe that.
Yep.
And maybe that's why we can make great leaps of intuition and great leaps of thought, and why inventions happen. Why songs are written, and why everything that's wonderful and terrible is repetitive. It's because we're part of the fractal.
Yeah. Oh, there's one there.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's a spiral galaxy right there. It's a hurricane. Spiral galaxy. It's a box of jewels. It's the night sky in the Milky Way. And it's a part of the cerebral cortex. It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes. We've talked about it before about information being stored within energy itself. Because how does a dog know to eat grass when it's got a tummy upset? It hasn't learned it from its parents because it's taken from the parents as a puppy. Because our dog sniffs around for a certain smell of grass, and he only eats that particular grass that he can find. I don't know if it's like a young blade of grass that's sweeter, but he seems to know what he needs to eat to make himself better, which is kind of amazing. Because
They call it dog grass, don't they?
well, I don't know if it's what it's got a name, but he certainly
genetic memory.
Yeah, he wants to go over the road here because he's got it in his garden, but no one else has got it. So he's jumping up on this layered garden, and I was thinking, "Oh shit, we're going to get in trouble soon." He's up there sniffing around all the pot plants and things, looking for the grass that he wants to eat. But I reckon that's stored in the DNA. It's passed on through the DNA of the system.
Yes.
And I think it's actually stored within the atoms itself and the energy, because the atom's like dense energy. So. I
like the idea of the Akashic record too. I mean, that plays into Indian religion and philosophies, but there's sort of like an encyclopedic collection of knowledge that somehow or another, I mean, Joseph Campbell went into that a lot. People like Campbell and Doors of Perception. I can't say his name right now because I'm getting old. I'm having a senior moment, but I mean, there is like a collection of information that people can tap into somehow, but that we certainly don't understand. I mean, that just means that there's archetypes that are bigger than just the individual, that the collective of humanity, or collective of all intelligence, doesn't have to end with us. There's dolphin intelligence, and I'm sure that there's intelligence ahead of ours, our visitors and intelligences we don't even know about, but that somehow or another that all is collected somewhere and is brought back to us. And again, maybe that's a source of ingenuity and invention,
Wasn't it?
I mean, when I write a song, as a musician, when I write a song, it feels like that song is already there. I mean, I've bumped into this time and time again since I was 12 years old when I first started trying to write my own songs. It always felt like I was finding something rather than creating something. You know how the sculptor says that, well, I carved away everything that didn't look like a rider on a horse, right? You know, but the horse was already there. The image was already there. I'm just trying to get everything away from there that wasn't in that archetype. And where do archetypes come from? Where it's a very interesting thought, that they're in there. And the universe is stranger and larger and maybe more intelligent than we think it is,
So I'll give a plug for William Shatner's new show called The Unexplained, spelt without the what was it now? Without the E, I think it was. But I was just watching his latest episode, or one of them anyway, on the human brain, because you brought up the brain. And this guy, when he was in his 20s, I think it was, dived into a swimming pool. But he dived into the shallow end and hit his head on the bottom of the pool, and he was rushed to hospital, and they said he was fine. He didn't have any bleeds in the head, which was good. He just knocked himself out, and but he said something changed inside. He started seeing these black and white squares in front of his eyes, and he went around a friend's house after he recovered, and he had a piano, and he said, "Oh, do you mind if I sit down there and have a play?" And he starts playing like Mozart, and he's never had any piano lessons in his life, right? So where did he get that knowledge from? Because it's something you have to practice and practice. Else you get your fingers all twisted over and all that, and you make bum notes. So this guy was playing fluently, like he was a professional, and he said all he sees is these black and white dots drifting downwards in front of his eyes, and the experts reckon that's like a visual interpretation of the notes of the score music, and where he needs to place his fingers on the keyboard, and somehow his body takes over and just moves his fingers around and starts playing it. Now he gets he has big, like, thousands of people going to see him in concert playing all these complex pieces of music, and so that's on one of the episodes. Whether you subscribe to that channel or not, I'm not sure, but it's the Unexplained series. It's 8 parts, I think.
I was going to watch that tonight. I'm probably going to watch it when I get off here.
Yeah, I think
it's a good show so far.
I think it's
I think
episode
to meet
7.
William, actually. He
But
was at Alien Con, but everybody wanted to meet him, and I think I was busy hanging out with my buddies and stuff.
But the question is,
I didn't get to actually meet him.
But the question is now, where did he get that information from? Where did he get the download of information? Did he always have it in his brain, and he severed he severed the connection with his left hemisphere of the brain that takes control of everything and allowed his artistic brain to come through more? So who knows? So, or is it from like a past life? So knowledge is maybe in the ether all around us. All of us can tap into it and instantly be geniuses in mathematics or science or music or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's out there, and it's. I think that it exists apart from ourselves, and it might be the collective unconscious. Going back to Jungian thought and Joseph Campbell. I mean, it may be what we've created ourselves, and it's out there, and that's our personal Akashic record that you can tap into somehow. And I have not really learned any trick to get it to work. I mean, what I have to do if I'm going to be creative, I have to sit myself down and I have to start fiddling around, whether it's with artwork on my iPad or with a brush and paint or with a guitar and music. It seems for me, I have to give that jump start, but then something takes over sometimes, and that creativity takes over. And it happens in my UFO investigations too. Sometimes I'll have eureka moments where it's like, wow, look at this. And the synchronicity is wonderful when it plays into that. And I think it's part of it, I think that we could be much greater creatures than we are if we can understand this better. If we can understand where creativity comes from and where that spark of genius comes from. The people that invent amazing things like Nikola Tesla or Einstein, or you bring the person up, Hubble, all these guys. I don't know that they're all humans. They all had the same origin that we had. They were born in the wedding bed, and if they were lucky, but something happens to where they have this leap that takes place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting, I mean, the way that people are looking at neurology now and the way that they're looking at the human brain, it's different. I'm a little afraid of computer human brain,
interface
connections, the way that they're talking about doing the interface stuff. But I don't know. I mean, it might be our salvation. It might be what saves us. I don't know. I have too many. I've read, Orwell's 1984, and I've read Bradbury's scary books, and so of course I have that maybe working against me sometimes. But I don't know. I mean, it may not be a bad thing.
Well, you've heard about the Chinese. Figure out how to... The Chinese have got a social score now, like Facebook, and you got likes and dislikes, and if you say something that the Chinese government don't like, they can lower your social score, and you can't get any money out to live on. Or
that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate. That's to me, that's evil. Social engineering is not a good thing.
Well, apparently, even
that's not a good thing.
If you get done for crime over there, a serious crime, and you end up in prison for life, you got a death sentence. They keep you alive until the body parts can be sold. So what they can do is they might open them up, take out a kidney, and sew them back up, and give the kidney to someone that's like a billionaire.
Our allies.
Yeah, and just keep them as like a thing. It's like something you see on a horror movie type thing, but actually it sounds like it's happening in China by the sounds of it. So much for human rights.
Well, that's the opposite of the opposite of humans evolving to a higher level, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I think that when hopefully, I think compassion and care for the other person, that's one of the things that and I hear this with the experiencers too. I talked with one experiencer where he talked about his entities, and they, and his entities seemed angry at the human race. He said, "You guys are like a virus. You kill each other. You do this terrible, terrible stuff to your own planet, and we're afraid of you. But we think there's something worth saving here, and so we're trying." And this guy was an interesting guy. I talked with him for a long time. He wasn't one of my CMS cases where I had to, go and get all the information. It was another case, but I was just fascinated. I couldn't get off the phone with him, talking about his experience, because, he his alien was a brown alien with the round eyes, and but it sounded like he said, well, they sound very, very displeased with humanity, like we should be much better than we are. But yet he kept coming back, and he kept coming back, and he and this guy experienced visits up until just maybe 20 years ago. He's an older gentleman. So I don't know what to make of that, except that perhaps there's some kind of an ideal and a goal that we should be reaching for. And I can't see us leaving other people behind in that. I think that humanity is a collective, and it shouldn't just be one group or one, it should be all of us that are brought along, not just some 1% or something like that, if you know what I mean. And hopefully that's the direction we're going. I hope so. I may be, sort of an altruist, and maybe my naivety levels are way up here, but I like to think and like to hope that we can actually become a better species than we are. I think that we're better than we were 300 years ago. I mean, at least here, at least slavery, when it's done now, is done, under wraps, back before it was in the public square, right? I mean, it's slow progression, and humans are stubborn. I'm stubborn, It's hard for us to give up our vices. It's hard for us to give up our prejudices, but I like to think and I hope that we do have space brothers and space sisters, and they do see potential in us, and that they're hoping that they're going to be able to bring us up to something better that's up ahead. That's my hope.
Space Brothers, that was from Dr. Greer,
if they
wasn't it?
bomb Washington tomorrow,
Yeah.
well, or bomb New Zealand or the UK, I'll have to take my thoughts back. But anyway,
Japanese. Space Brothers, that's the
I have to
tune.
turn some lights in here.
You got dark.
I think we've been on.
We still see you.
I know. The Earth is spinning. I'm going to stay on with you guys a little bit more. Hold on one second. I'm going to turn the lights on.
Yeah, that's all right. Yep.
Give me 1 sec. Rob, you get to talk. Now it's your turn. I'm going to shut up.
Okay.
Okay, anything else that we've missed out on Stan's abduction case at all?
Not too much, Paul. The only thing to add here is after the third abduction, the one where he met his child.
Be a little brighter in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came back. He came back round, and he was on his balcony, locked out,
right,
in just his boxer shorts.
He was locked out of his place,
so it didn't put him back where.
But he didn't.
He was on his own balcony.
He wasn't dropped off. He wasn't dropped off miles away.
His girlfriend up.
Yeah, he wasn't dropped off miles away like Travis Walton was, apparently.
Yeah,
which
this
I
is it.
find a wee
Yeah.
bit strange. So we have to ask Earl about that.
Mhm.
Is he back with us? Or have we
Yeah,
lost him?
hi.
It's not switching over
It's a
to
little
you,
better.
though. Why can't we see you on the switch over?
Ah, Space Brothers, Wikipedia.
Oh, we got you back now. Yeah, I was just saying, how many abductions get dropped off miles away from where they're abducted? Do you have anything like that?
Not many. If they were traveling somewhere else and their car was taken,
All right.
they'll sometimes find themselves in their car where their destination was, and the odometer doesn't show any miles.
Because I'll just
And
read
that's
that.
the thing.
Since I'm suspect of Travis Walton's claims, and how he was sort of dropped off, but miles away from the telephone. You'd think he would have been dropped off
I don't know.
from the forest, you know.
He was a special case. I don't think that they weren't meaning to abduct him. They took him to fix him up. They weren't planning on doing that at all. I think they were doing something altogether differently, but he ran towards their propulsion system and it stopped his heart.
I
At
think
least that's what he says,
I think it's staged. That one. There's just too many red flags with Travis because apparently
I've met him a couple times. I've spent a little time with him, and I like Travis. I've found nothing fishy about him.
well,
Hynek liked him.
Okay.
I have a lot of respect for Hynek. Valet liked him.
Yeah, but
So
if you look at all the facts, there were 7 of them, wasn't there? And Travis was sick that day in the truck, and no one knew what he was getting up to. He had plenty of time to sneak off and set up some props, blow up alien craft or whatever, and put some lights onto it. Plus, they were late getting away from.
He wasn't a special effects expert. He was like a lumberjack.
But you don't need to do much. You just need to put a light on a balloon and have a foot pedal.
I don't believe that part of it, Paul. That's too.
I think he just walked up, touched a foot pedal, beam of light come on. His partner knew what they were going to do. So all the guys, the other guys in the car
agree to disagree on this one.
I think if you look at all the facts, I think it was staged. Because the guy got dropped off at the phone box and he didn't phone up the police for 4 hours after. It's only him and the driver that were on the prank or hoax, and the other guys were thinking it was really happening, and I think that's how they got away with it, because they could pass all the lie detector tests.
The only thing I didn't like, which goes against him, was his appearance on that TV show where it was £100,000, but he failed the lie detector test and he still got $25,000 even. Sorry. That's the only thing I didn't like about the case. Other than that, I think
he's only like messed up on one lie detector test, and people get nervous, people get paranoid. It's hard to talk about something ineffable that's happened to you, especially in public, and especially when people are expecting you to fail. You can fail. You can do something that you're very proud of, but if people are like saying, "Oh, you didn't do that, that didn't happen," and they're trying to like take little bits out of you, people are able to fall into doubt about something that they know they did. So I don't know that I really agree with that. I've hung out with Travis a few times. He seems very down to earth. He didn't necessarily want to talk about his experience, although he has a little bit with me. Mostly he wanted to talk about guitar stomp boxes. He's another guy that likes to play guitar, and we were talking about, what strings do you use and what amp do you have, and he's got like a Fender guitar, and we were talking shop on guitars mostly, but I hung out with him a little bit at the MUFON symposium again, and it was just very casual, and he was mostly wanting to get away from people at the time. He was out on the patio. I was hanging out with Tom Whitmore from MUFON, who's a great guy. and we were just like hanging out and shooting the BS together, it was just Travis. He's a very down to earth, sweet guy, and I don't really see a lot of phony baloney in him. I mean, we know people that we agree are frauds, I don't even want to mention names right now, but people with jump rooms and stuff like that, is just really kind of silly. But alien abductions are weird. They're not all the same. And Travis, as far as I'm concerned, they didn't expect to take him at all. He just acted in a crazy way. He acted like a guy who was in his early 20s who was full of himself and wanted to show off to his friends.
So even this
he got
this webpage even lists the same problems I found as well with his story.
Sure. Well, you can find pages like you'll probably find a page like that on me as soon as if I mean, I recently did a TV show, and maybe I'll do more. And if that happens much more, well, they'll probably do that to me too. You got to remember. I mean, there's skeptics out there. There's people that live for their skepticism. A lot of my friends do, actually. I mean, the people I hang out with when I'm not doing UFOs and stuff, the majority of them don't even believe it's such a thing. I mean, I'll hear time and time again. It's like, well, Earl, how can you investigate something that doesn't exist? And they don't believe in any of it, And I'm pretty good with them. I'm not mean, and I'm sweet, but I usually have pretty good arguments for it. But I don't know. I'm not going to go and try to debunk Travis. I mean, I did like when I first heard the story, but after meeting him and hearing him speak about it quite a few times, I do think that something happened with Travis. Now, like anything, when you have a UFO story and it goes public, it suddenly becomes a circus, and people start going nuts on you, and I can understand how somebody would not be able to pass a lie detector test once. The question is how did he pass it the other 6 times?
It's not too easy to fool, not too hard to fool a thing, though, is it? You just
there's another thing you have to say as well, because 7 of those people have held the story together for how many years now?
Yeah, but
it's going to be 40
like
years.
40 years.
Yeah, but you're forgetting that 5 of them,
40 years.
5 of them went in on the hoax. Only 2 of them, the driver called Roger and Travis himself. And who are the people that go to the MUFON all the time? It's Travis and his driver, isn't it? So how much money did he make?
There was one guy that was along with him that didn't want to be there in the first place, and he was angry that the whole thing even happened and that he was involved, because he was kind of a shady character in the eyes of the law, and they wanted to blame it. They wanted to say that Travis was murdered, and they wanted to blame it on him. So he didn't want to have anything to do with it. And but as far as Travis or anybody else goes, I mean, if you're looking at there's really not a whole lot to gain through making up from whole cloth a UFO story. You may get a couple of shows and stuff, but it's not enough to live off of.
Apparently, they got $5,000 from National Enquirer for the story, and they split it up between them.
Well, $5,000. Okay, so that's $1,000 a person, and back in 1970 money, so that was maybe like 2 months worth of.
Yeah. But you
2 months worth of a lumberjack.
You got to remember they were behind in the contract,
salary.
and they weren't going to get paid out on it because they had fallen behind or something. And obviously, they wanted to extend the time allowed for that contract.
There isn't a whole lot of money involved in ufology. I mean, that's one thing I'm finding. I mean,
but there is
Stanton Friedman had another job. He was a business consultant.
Yeah, but
that's what he did when he wasn't.
He undersold himself, though. He didn't he didn't get all the perks like all the other people, so he spent a lot on his own expenses, right? So
if you're a total fraud and you're like making stuff up full cloth and you're being, Barnum and Bailey circus, then I think that, well, people are eventually going to see through you, and you're going to have trouble sleeping at night, and you have to live with being a liar, you know. So I don't think that the payback is worth it. I think that there's people that do that, but it's probably a disappointing outcome for them. Most of the people that I know that work in ufology full time, they're working harder than I am. I mean, I'm having trouble doing everything that I do, but you know, I know that the people that I know that are going from conference to conference and writing books and speaking, and where I'm talking about the good people, you know, the ones that are like top of the field. It's not like they're you know, living in the lap of luxury. They're working very, very hard. So there's easier ways to make money than pulling a UFO fraud. And if anybody's thinking about doing that out there, well, first of all, I love to poke holes, you know, in fake UFOs. That's, you know, a good probably 60% of what I wind up doing is poking holes in the BS stuff. There's much easier ways to make money. I'm sure there's people that do that. Travis, I've hung out with a few times. I know him not really well, but I know him well enough that I don't think that he's making something up whole cloth. I think that they went through something.
Okay, so what's he do now for a living?
You know, actually, that I don't know. I actually don't know. I haven't talked with him about that. I imagine he must have something other than the UFO thing.
So how did he live his whole life? Off social benefits, or did he do jobs, or what did he do to fill the time, or did he just simply go around Congress and symposiums? And
I don't know. He does talk a lot. He does do a lot of conferences and stuff. I mean, I don't do a lot of conferences, but I've seen him at a few of them that I've gone to. But anyway, I mean, I'm not going to bash Travis. I like Travis, and I actually believe in his story, and I'm in good company. You know, I mean, Valet and, you know, Hynek liked him too. So
yeah,
I believe Paul Hynek likes him quite a bit too. So I mean, you know, there's easier ways to make a fortune than coming up with a UFO fraud, and I don't think that Travis is one of those guys.
He must have.
There are other people that I think are totally fraudulent. You know,
how much money did the Fire and Sky make though? Because you can make a lot of money
I'm
from.
actually not sure. With a movie, but you know, I mean, you have like a one-time payout, and you'll get like, you know, my wife does that. You know, she does royalties over at Warner Brothers, and you know, people get payouts, but they're not that much. I mean, you can't just have one product and live the rest of your life on it, not unless you're Star Wars, and even Star Wars, they keep on putting out new ones. So eventually, it's not like there's a lot of cash cows out there. Certainly not in ufology. I mean, all the people that I know a lot of the big names in ufology. Unless you have your own TV show and you've got movies coming out and stuff, you're not doing all that great. You probably have a second job. Just the reality of it.
What's your? You think?
Wait, Paul. You know, with Travis Walton abduction now. Wasn't one of the witnesses apparently offered £10,000 by Philip Class, $10,000?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he didn't take it though.
No, he didn't. Well, he was one of the you know, sort of sidecar guys in the case that stayed in the truck and drove away, of course, and all that. And you know, I mean, if something extraordinary happens to you, you have to live with it, and you know, I'm sure for people, I mean, there's probably, I know that there's that if you have a TV show or you've got one movie, I mean, if you've been abducted once or something, you haven't been abducted again, there's probably temptation to expound on your own story, but eventually you get caught up in the own trap of your lies, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing about it. It's like silly string, you know, like the string stuff you'd shoot out of the tube, you know, you keep shooting it around, it's eventually going to trip you up. And you know, and we see that every now and then, right? I mean, we see people that are fraudulent, and usually their YouTube channels, you know, end, or they fall, you know, into major depressions, and they can't do it anymore,
You're talking about
or they
security.
wind up in, well, we're not going to mention names, but you know, I mean, people wind up in mental institutions and stuff, and you know, I mean, that stuff bears its price. And I'll say, you know, I mean, I have my own little extraordinary story, but it only goes so far. It can probably take up about 45 minutes, and that's it, right? If that's all I have, then, you know, oh well. Luckily, you know, I'm a UFO investigator, and that's my main thrust. And for me, you know, I mean, I kind of let other people tell my story. I let Philip Kinsella is actually writing about my mom and writing about my experience. I gave him permission, and I did, you know, some interviews with him, and he wrote it up, and I think he did a really beautiful job. And we don't feel the same way about ETs all the time either, Philip and I. We have our disagreements about that, but he was very respectful and very sweet about it. And Kathleen Martin is in the same book, and so I told him, I said, go for it. That's your story, and you get to tell it, you know, because I don't want that to be what my career is about, because it's maybe 45 minutes worth of rhetoric, and then it's over, you know. And I mean, it's really good. I mean, you know, I mean, I don't understand what happened to me myself. It was very, very strange. It was extraordinary. It messed with myself and my wife, and we even argue about it to this day. You know, it was just very disconcerting. And it was a very inconvenient thing to have happen when I started working as a MUFON field investigator. It's like, I don't want this experience. I don't want this one. You know, I want Space Brothers to take me up in the spaceship and show me Earth and the cosmos, and, you know, I have wonder. You know, I don't want you to like be messing with me and where I can't move and scaring me, and I don't even know if I'm going to live through this.
Of course,
but it's like a 45. If I tell you the story from the beginning to the end, it's going to take 45 minutes, and that's it. It's not even enough for a movie or a book. You know? It's what it is. So I'm going to let other people tell my story for me, and I don't even want to write about it.
But yours might be a bit more than aliens. So yours might actually be linked to this black ops that's within the government itself, though, because of your mum's story connection. So
I don't know. I don't know why it happened to me, and but you know, it's weird that it happened when I first became a field investigator. I still think that that's a strange thing. You know, so I don't know. I'm not even sure who it was. I'm pretty sure it was ET or interdimensionals. I have every reason to think it was, but it was scary, and it's not the way that I hoped that aliens would be. But you know, I mean, on the other hand, I feel like I have these synchronicities, and I always feel like I have somebody guiding me. Even, you know, that there's like a higher goal to what I do. I think that the people that are supposed to know that we're not alone, that I'm supposed to tell my story. I'm supposed to talk about what I talk about, to let you guys know what is out there. For those that have no interest and don't want to know, I don't think that it's not for them, you know? I mean, it goes back to the old Eagle River sighting, you know, with what was that guy's name? Simonson or something like that. That's the wrong name. But you know, the guy with the pancakes, where the aliens showed up and asked him for water, and I love repeating that story. They told him, they said that we want you to believe in us, but not that much.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where it is. I think disclosure is for those who want disclosure. And for the people that are comfortable with just thinking that we're alone, and that their life is random, and that there's no greater force out there, they're probably going to just keep on feeling that way, and that's their comfort level, you know. But for some of us, it feels good to feel like that humanity isn't the only intelligence, you know. I like thinking that that there's another intelligence out there, and that we aren't the only ones that look up at the stars and wonder. You know, so for me, aliens is a very good thing. That intelligence isn't limited to us. If we blow ourselves up, there's still going to be somebody looking up at the stars and wonder. You know.
Yeah. Yes, it might be that they take the missing people, or some of the missing people are being taken to another planet to restart it afresh.
I've thought that. Yeah, maybe, or maybe they're dinner. I hope not.
Well, it could be. It could be. It could be like a farm. Yeah, it's a bit like
I hope not, you know.
A bit like the Predator movie.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. There's easier ways to. I mean, we're, you know, I mean, I can go over to the hamburger joint now, and they have the meat that's made with processes and stuff that you can't tell the difference, and they're actually getting pretty good. So I think there's easier ways to feed yourself.
Well, they're talking about they're talking about meat that grows itself in a petri dish. Meat that grows.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Artificial meat.
Burger King is trying that now. Burger King and a couple of places now.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, it's good for vegetarians. You know, it gives them that option. But anyway,
yeah,
that was like a science fiction meme for some years. Frederick Pohl, he had a thing called Chicken Little in his Heechee quadrilogy that he wrote. It's pretty funny, you know. And they would go and they had like this vat that was growing chicken meat, and they would slice it off, and they called it Chicken Little. It was really gross, you know. But it's pretty much the same thing, but it's a way, I guess, to enjoy meat without you know, living off of the misfortune of other creatures. So I can understand why people would think that was.
But maybe that's what aliens
do
too. If aliens are that advanced, that's probably what they do. They don't kill things. They probably just.
Yeah, I don't. I think that it's easier to. There are easier ways to feed yourself than killing another intelligence.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do I know? You know, people like foie gras. So, you know, what can I say? I don't know. I can't tell you for sure. I like to believe that it's primarily a benevolent culture that's visiting us, but I think that they have their renegades. So who knows?
Did you see this
missing 411?
You see, talking about meat, you've seen this cat video? The cat's at the butcher's.
Yeah, that's my cat right there. That is my cat. Yep.
You want that? Yeah.
Well, you want. Yeah, he wants the sausage. He wants.
I think that might be liver.
That's so funny.
It gives them...
So, Paul, I think I'm probably going to tap out pretty soon here, my friend. I got to wake up and actually work tomorrow.
Okay.
But what else do you want to talk about before I head out?
I don't know. Anything amazing in the UFO MUFON field there that you're allowed to tell us or anything? You got a new show you talked about. Are you allowed to talk about that at all?
I did. I can't talk too much about it, but I did do a guest appearance for a special that's going to be on one of the major networks. I can't mention too much because you have to sign, non-disclosure agreements when you do that stuff. But they wanted a ufologist in on the scene. And I more or less meet these two guys in a warehouse that's in the middle of the desert, and they're on their way to the Area 51 thing. As far as I know, they're not going to Naruto run into Area 51, but they are on their way to see what happens there. And they meet different people on the way, and I was one of them. And they originally wanted Jan Harzan, but Jan is in Barcelona right now at a UFO conference in Spain, so he couldn't do it. So he actually gave the gig to me, and I was very touched and moved that I was given that, and I was told I did a really good job. So that is going to be playing. I believe it's going to be playing this month, and I'll let you guys know when it's going to play. I'm not responsible for the other UFO people that they got in on it. I'm not embarrassed of any of the names that they also had. You know, there was nobody that really threw up a really big red light for me. Although, you know, Paul, you might not like one of them, but I thought that it was a pretty good scenario and a good show, and I really liked the hosts, and I felt proud of my own work, and I did get to present my own cases on it.
So when will
which
it,
I was very happy about.
When's it going to air? Did you say?
It'll be this month, later this month, and
Okay.
I will let you know.
Right.
I can't give you the date, and I can't give you a name, and I don't even know if
No,
I
the
can tell you
title.
the channel. But you will know. You'll know the channel,
Yeah.
and hopefully you'll know the name of the show, because it's a special. But it would be nice to.
Well, let's see. Most of the alien stuff's appearing on the. Most of the alien stuff, I think, and paranormal stuff seems to be on the Travel TV channel. So.
Well, it's a hot topic right now, isn't it? It's a hot topic. I mean, people are interested.
Yeah.
And love them or hate them, you got to hand it to the To the Stars guys for getting the New York Times article out about the Nimitz and all that stuff. It definitely kicked the conversation up to a new level, and people are interested in this. And it's not all a laughing matter, you know. I mean, Frank Edwards is the guy that wrote the book that said, you know, flying saucers are serious business. But it took until 2019, apparently, to get the public along in tow that, you know, flying saucers are serious business. That it is, you know. I mean, it's a very real thing, as we know. I mean, you just look at all the FOIA reports, all the pilots, all the, you know, Air Force and Navy people. The police that see UFOs and have experiences, something is going on. Either something is going on, or humanity itself is having a massive, you know, mental breakdown at the highest levels. It's one or the other, you know. I mean, you don't really get a choice from that. Either humanity is having a massive mental breakdown, or else there's something to UFOs.
Yeah.
And so it's a hot topic right now, and I'm thrilled that I finally did get to stick my toe in the, you know, mainstream media, or whatever you want to call it, you know.
Have you?
And I'm not willing to sell my soul. I'm not willing to sell my soul, by the way. And I did. There was one UFO that I wasn't willing to call a UFO when they did the show. And they let me turn it around and say that, you know, it's a good example of an IFO, which I was happy about. I hope that it isn't edited in a different way, you know, in the final cut. But that's the way that they let me deal with that. So, so that's my big news. You know, I've gone to, you know, network television, and that's a good thing. You know, I enjoy doing it, and as long as they let me be myself, and I don't have to, you know, spout BS, I'd love to do that. It's more people.
Have you had any?
I want to reach more people.
Have you had any good triangle UFO cases lately? TR3Bs.
Yeah. I think I told you about, you know, I have a police officer in Bakersfield that had one flying over his neighbor's house. End of a flight path from an airport out there.
Right.
The guy took his dogs out to do their business. I know you take Charlie out, you know. Same thing, you know, middle of the night, but the dogs had to go out.
Yeah.
So he's standing there and he's looking over his neighbor's house, and the stars are blotted out, and he sees like this silhouette, and his night vision starts coming in, and there's this triangular thing hanging over his neighbor's house.
Yeah.
It's 35 feet away. You could see a light on each corner. There was a large light in the center.
Yeah.
In this instance, they were all red. Usually you'll have white lights on the corners and a red light in the middle, but they were all red. Now maybe, you know, red light is it's harder to see in the dark. It's harder to see a red light. It's what we use in astronomy. If you're using a telescope, if you have to use a flashlight, you put a red filter on it, right? So maybe they were kind of in stealth mode. They were, you know, taking a pee break or whatever, you know. But he saw this thing for a good 3 minutes, he saw like what looked like air vents or something on the side to him. He said that you could see like these little vent type things with, and you could see distance inside, and it was perfectly silent. His dogs didn't even react to it. They were busy looking for a cat. Right?
Yeah.
They were looking for the neighbor's cat.
Yeah.
So they didn't care that this weird thing is hovering there. But he said that, you know, the hairs on his arms were kind of standing up a little bit. But he ran back inside to get a camera or his iPhone, and he came back out, and of course it was gone.
Right.
You know. But this was a veteran police officer with a great record, and I did do, you know, background check on him. He was who he said he was. You know, I saw his badge and all that. And he had no reason to make this story up, especially because he went anonymous. He doesn't want his name out there.
And of course, this would be.
I have his name.
This would be SoCal, Southern California.
This is southern California. It's Bakersfield.
So that's heading off to the Air Force bases there, isn't it? What's the ones out there?
There are many Air Force bases out there.
Yeah,
there are many Air Force bases. It's the Great American Desert, more or less.
Yeah.
A lot of farm country, a lot of country music, you know, Buck Owens and Dwight Yoakam country, you know, and apparently Black Triangles like the area too. So
according to Ben Hansen,
that's my newest one.
Yeah, according to Ben Hansen, I think he said if you got the right camera, you can see the triangles all the time. Over his place anyway. I think he lives in Utah, but I'm not sure if sure if he's talking about California there or not, because I know he's a celebrity now, isn't he? So, but he had a good.
I think they're probably ours. I mean, we've talked about this a bit. I think they're probably reverse engineered because they look like they're off of out of a factory. They all look the same.
Yeah.
UFOs seem to be, you know, kind of their own thing. They change from UFO to UFO, the light patterns and everything else. But the black triangles seem to be cookie cutter. So they're off of assembly line, you know, perhaps.
Yeah, and the underside always seems to be like kind of pipes and stuff, like the underside of the backside of the refrigerator.
That's a good way to explain it, Rob. Yeah.
Sounds man-made, doesn't it?
That's Michael.
The way they're behaving is unusual.
That's Michael.
Hydraulics or whatever. You don't really see that in alien craft. The alien craft are seamless. Yeah.
Seamless.
Yeah.
Not nuts and bolts at all. These have a nuts and bolts element to them. So.
Well, the pipes
didn't really start happening until the 80s as well.
Your tax dollars at work, perhaps, or our tax dollars at work, or maybe they are your tax dollars. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Michael
Schratt
said that.
5% of charge on my iPad.
Oh, okay, mate.
So I am going to have to go here, you guys.
Right, we could talk about this all night long anyway.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul.
No problem.
This medium works good, so I'll come back. This works really well.
I think you went robotic and your video glitched there a few times, but I think that might be because of the Wi-Fi, maybe. I don't know. If you move around, your Wi-Fi changes. Sure. Yeah, but you've been pretty good.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up to 2 hours anyway, so yeah, we're just going to do this one on abductions, and I'll probably do a debunk video probably sometime midweek anyway.
All right. Well, you guys have a beautiful night.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me, Paul. It was good seeing you, Rob, and all you guys that are listening.
Yeah.
And hanging out. Thank you for listening and hanging out.
Yeah.
We'll do this again. It worked really well. So
we had 15 visitors.
All right, good night, you guys.
Yeah. Okay, see ya. See ya.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers. Okay, so we're back with Robert. Yes. That worked pretty good for the Jitsi stuff. We'll have to see how it records anyway.
Yeah.
I turned you down.
I hear a little bit of description coming from Mel from time to time, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I turned it down a wee bit. But I think it's really the microphone on the iPad. But
could be.
We'll have to see. We have to see how well it comes out. It sounds alright in our headset. It's just YouTube is the problem. So there wasn't anything else that we wanted to talk about.
No.
I was going to ask him about Betty and Barney Hill, whether Stanton's Freeman.
Yeah.
I was going to ask him that, but I totally forgot. But as you said, he's run out of battery, and I think he wanted to get going. So what's the time there over there now? Let's see.
It's nearly 4 a.m. where I am.
I think it's
so
probably like 8 p.m. at night over there, so California. Yeah. So yeah, there was a Stanton Freeman clip. Did I play it last time? But I was just actually trying to find it. So I think it's missed. I think it's gone missing on my tabs here. Oh well. But I think we might have played it last time, did we? I can't remember. Briefly, anyway. Yep, so it's still live there. But yeah, I thought we might have had a few more people join, especially having Earl on, because he's normally got some good stuff to give us. Which is current.
Earl's a good talker.
Yeah, and he's got legit UFO cases, none of this fake stuff out there.
I'm glad he was on to the abduction case because he meted it out quite nicely with a lot of different cases and a lot of different concepts of, what it may be.
There was a lot more I wanted to ask him though, but whether he could tell us is another thing. Because of
of course,
people's privacy. I was trying to find out if there's any other strange aliens that he heard about. But he sort of covered some of it anyway. But yeah, I suppose we could wrap it up there, Robert, if you want to.
Yeah, it's fine for me because it's 4 a.m. here now.
Yeah. So let's keep this one abductions. I don't know if we can add anything else to it. Not sure if there's any other abduction stories out there. We could have a quick look on the web here, just quickly, I suppose. We'll look at the weirdest abduction cases, maybe. Stories. Let's see what we get. 18 people sharing horrifying kidnapping and abduction stories. Okay, let's have a quick look at that one.
Don't know. I've never heard of that site before.
No, it's just a random thing. What's this popping up here? Alright. No thanks. So what's kidnapping victim? Is it talking about kidnapping by people, I think? Not aliens, is it? Did I put aliens in it? That one could be humans. Humans being bad to humans. Weird abduction stories, alien. Yes, we know people get abducted every day, don't they?
No.
The comforting myth of alien abduction.
Certainly do.
What's this one? The first alien abduction account described as medical exam. So they're going Betty Barney Hill here. Let's have a quick look at that one anyway. Oh, History Channel. Are they doing Betty Barney Hill, are they? Medical exam with a crude pregnancy test. Space creatures also got excited about dentures, according to Barney and Betty Hill's story of 1961. We should probably cover this in more detail sometime. This case, and maybe we can get some information about what else happened after. Apparently they did see other UFOs after and possibly got abducted again, according to Stan Romanek's comment anyway, of getting her nightgown. So that wasn't what I was after there. History of abduction claims. Gremlins, is it? Let's see. Antonio Villas Boas case from Brazil, 1957. and the Hill abduction from the United States. So there was one just before Betty and Barney Hill. I thought there might have been official ones. Although these cases sometimes viewed as the earliest abduction narrative, skeptic Peter Rogerson argues that this assertion is incorrect. The Hill and Boas abductions he condemns were only the first canonical abduction cases. What's that mean? Recorded, maybe? What's that mean? That's not what I typed. According or ordered by canon law. Okay. Oh no, what was that word before? I thought there was it. There we go. What's that say? Forming a canon scriptures. Confirming to general rule. Okay.
Sorry about that.
We're just having a read of the Wikipedia here on the early abduction cases.
There's the last verse there.
Yeah, 1957.
He described that the alien's hair was long and blonde, gingerish as well, just like Standard.
Oh.
But that was the only really good comparison I could find.
I was trying to work out what he meant by this term here. Canonical abduction cases.
It contends were the first.
I'm not sure
canonical.
I'm not sure what he meant by that word.
Contents were only the first canonical abduction case.
Canonical. What's the L on the end? I tell you what, my eyesight's bad at times. I thought it had a missing L, but
to be honest, if you'd have asked me about maybe even just 2 years ago, what I thought of the whole abduction business, I was very much on the fence about it, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure anymore. I'm really not so sure now. I think something is going on.
Yeah, I was the same. I was a bit skeptic of it all, like it was a mental problem, or people were just seeking attention, maybe. But when you got multiple cases of seeing someone abducted, that's sort of changed my mind once I started hearing more and more of the information. The thing is, it's not public knowledge. These guys that are doing the research, because it's people don't want it to be out there, don't release it publicly, so we never get to hear about all the gritty details, you know. And then we can't. It's like if it was put out on MUFON database, we would be able to do stats on it. We'd say, well, how many of these were abducted and saw a classic saucer, or how many of them saw 4-foot greys, how many saw tall greys, other creatures, or whatever. And we'd better know all that if it was available publicly. How many were abducted in the presence of other people, how many parents saw their children being abducted, all these things, and that'd be really good. I was also going to ask Earl before he left, was there any cases that he heard of physical evidence being left behind? Because that's a key question, right? So, but we can't ask him that now because he's gone. I know there was a couple.
I don't believe there is. The only physical evidence has been left behind is maybe marks to the skin, unusual marks to the skin, and of course, you know, if you believe in all this implant stuff, that's another thing. But I'm still very skeptical about implants.
So we got here.
Not convinced of that at all.
The Pablo Abductions. I'll just read out that bit there because It's definitely interesting stuff, I think. Definitely needs serious investigation.
Yeah.
Paleo Abductions edit. While alien abduction did not achieve widespread attention until the 1960s, many similar stories are known to have been circulating decades earlier. These early abduction-like accounts have been dubbed Paleo Abductions by UFO researcher Jerome Clark. 3. This same two-part article, 4 and 3, makes note of many paleo abductions, some of which were reported well before the 1957 Antonio Villas-Boas case earned much attention, or even before the UFO report claimed in 1947 by pilot Kenneth Arnold that first generated widespread interest in UFOs.
Okay. I haven't heard about this, so let's just read it out.
At least one case of attempted abduction was reported in conjunction with the mystery airships of the late 19th century. Colonel H.G. Shaw's account was published in the Stockton, California Daily Mail in 1897. Shaw claimed that he and a friend were harassed by 3 tall, slender humanoids whose bodies were covered with a fine, downy hair. The beings tried to accost or kidnap Shaw and his friend, who were able to fight them off. 4. In his book New Lands, 1923, American writer Charles Fort speculated that extraterrestrial beings might have kidnapped humans. One supposes that if extra-mundane vessels have sometimes come close to this Earth, then sailing away, terrestrial aeronauts may have occasionally left this Earth, or may have been seized and carried away from this Earth. 5. The 1951 case of Fred Reagan was publicized by Flying Saucer Review in the late 1960s based on news clippings from 1952. Reagan claimed to have been piloting his small airplane, which was struck by a UFO. The occupants, who resembled metallic stalks of asparagus, apologized and tried to cure Reagan's cancer. Reagan reportedly died of a brain disorder not long after the alleged UFO encounter. 6. In 1954, Paris Match printed a story said to have occurred in 1921, when the anonymous writer was a child. The writer claimed to have been snatched by 2 tall men who wore helmets and diving suits, who took the boy to an oddly shaped tank before being released. Rogerson calls this story the earliest known abduction survivor report. 2. A 1958 letter to NICAP asserted that 2 U.S. Army soldiers witnessed 2 bright red lights near their base. The soldiers had a strange sense of dissociation and found themselves in a new location, with no memory of how they arrived there. Citation needed. Rogerson writes that the publication of Harold T. Wilkins' Flying Saucers Uncensored, 1955, declared that 2 contactees, Carl Hunroth and Wilbur Wilkinson, had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Wilkins reported speculation that the duo were the victims of alleged abduction by flying saucers. 2. The so-called Shaver mystery of the 1940s has some similarities to later abduction accounts, as well, with sinister beings said to be kidnapping and torturing people. Rogerson writes that John Robinson, a friend of ufology gadfly Jim Mosley, made a 1957 appearance on John Bell's popular overnight radio program to tell a dramatically spooky, if not very plausible, abduction tale related to the Shaver mystery. Robinson claimed that a friend of his had been held captive by the evil Deros beneath the earth, and to have been the victim of a sort of mind control via small earphones. Rogerson writes that, in this unlikely tale that we first encounter the implants and other abductionist staples. 2.
So abductions have been happening before Betty and Barney Hill. It's just that no one's documented it.
I think they've been happening for millennia, as you were discussing earlier, but they weren't called,
excuse me.
They weren't called aliens then. They were called, like the girl was taught, incubus, succubus, goblins, fairies, all kinds of things, but maybe the same thing happening, just a different cultural system and a different religious belief, hence the interpretations were different.
Yeah. It looks like we've got more people watching now. Earl's gone. We had him on for almost 2 hours, so that was pretty good.
There you go, see, blame it all on Earl.
So it's getting later in the night, so maybe this is when people come onto the web. I don't know, but we're not even sure how many the notifications from Google getting out to people. Kind of strange. So it looks like Renee's back again, or Maybe
Oh, no.
maybe he come and goes, or he's been there all the time. I don't know. There's not been any questions put down the side for Earl today, so that's kind of strange. People could have asked him questions.
Shame.
People miss opportunities like that because Earl's a really hard person to get on. But yeah, he gave us a lot of good information today, and yes, 5 unusual TV alien abduction stories. Dan a Geek. That's Dan a Geek is isn't that Rojas website? Dan a Geek, or he posts on it, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he does post on it.
I'm not sure if he owns it or what. What's this one here? So he does reviews of TV shows, obviously. So he's talking about Star Trek there. We've got something trying to autoplay there. I really hate sites that do autoplay videos, because that's where you get copyright claims from. Kidnapped by alien, tales of UFO abductions. What's that one there? Let's have a quick look at that one. Looks like a book. Strange. I was going to ask about Wibbly Sreba abduction case, because his is a well-known one as well. But his one, he talked about seeing dead friends, didn't he? You know how Earl was talking about that case about the spirits, that they own his spirit.
Yeah.
So it means the body's just a container, but it's the spirits that they're interested in. Kind of sounds like Schreiber one, where he says he saw.
Well, Whitley Schreiber's book reads like doesn't read like an abduction story. It reads more like a horror story. You know, it's very disturbing book. Not the one you'd be wanting to indulge in before bedtime.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he said he saw his dead friends there. On the UFO, and like death is not the end game. This is the sun. Strange claims of alien abduction, including the man who vanished for 5 days. Wasn't that Brazilian guy? Seems to ring a bell. Gary Woods. There's Travis Walton again. Yeah, I just don't like his case. Something not right with that abduction case with Travis. I know Earl likes him and won't say anything bad about him, but you'll find Earl does it.
Well, if he's met him and he believes he's sincere, then then maybe he has more insight than ourselves.
I don't know. If someone tells the story for 20 years, they're going to believe it themselves after a while anyway. Harry Porter.
I'm on the fence with it myself, Paul.
See, I always like to know how people make their living, of alien abductions. Like these big personalities that end up on these platforms, always going to conferences and stuff. Surely people get sick of hearing the same story over and over again, though. Surely.
Well, I'd imagine so. I don't know if there's that much money in those conferences.
But the movie
get paid
surely,
plus your expenses and what have you. Oh, the movie, yeah.
The movie looks like it made
Fire in the Sky.
Yeah, they reckon there was a $15 million budget and they made $20 million. But that was domestic. So what's the other ones you get? CD sales and all that comes after it. So he would have signed a contract for a percentage, surely, or lump sum. a lump sum plus a percentage of any future CD sales. Isn't that normally how it goes down? You know, figurines or whatever.
Something like that. Something like that.
Yeah. So back then, maybe he got 100,000 because he was selling the story. I don't know. Who knows? But all that sort of stuff is secret to us, you know. And that's always why I have doubt about people that make money from it, because they made money from it from the start. It's made me suspicious of that case. He says, so, no, I don't want no money, don't want no publicity, I don't want to even talk about it. But, yeah, I don't know. So, a lot of people that have been abducted or had strange stuff, they don't come straight out and talk about it, do they? They normally might come out years later. Right? Travers come out of it straight away because they got the police involved and all that, so eventually it had to be on the spot, newsworthy stuff, right? So it's totally different to other abduction cases that we've had before. How long did it take Betty and Barney Hill to be publicised? That's a good question. Was it right away?
I think it was several years. No, not at all.
Yeah. So, you know, that seems more genuine then to me, because it took a few years to get that story. Yeah. This is how I look at things with the critical mind. But if you go to these conferences and you meet people and you see the nice people and all that, and you're not picking up any bad body language, even though there could be, you know, you talk about people that can beat lie detector tests. Some people just can do it, you know. You know, the psychopaths can beat it, apparently, because they got none of that guilt, so their blood pressure and all that doesn't change, right?
No conscience, then.
Yeah, so... But yeah, when he was talking about that story about the UFO making a banshee-type squeal, I was thinking maybe the UFO landed on a deer or something and injured a deer, and it was making a screeching noise. Maybe that's what I thought he was going to talk about on that case that Earl was talking about on that one. So that was... But you always get, when it always comes to searching stuff on the net, on abductions like here, it's always about the ones we've heard about already, Betty, Barney Hill, and then we got this one, crazy one that he brought up was religious, the Betty Adrieson abduction, which we don't believe at all. I don't think Earl does too, really. He said it's just a very strange case. So what's this one here? Herbert Schirmer. Well, let's have a read of that one. Who we got down the side? We got some other people on here. Justin, how's it going? I'll just zoom down, check out these guys first. Gonna be one hell of a loud few days, really. What's that? Deep Purple concert.
Oh, he's going to see Deep Purple and Iron Maiden, yeah.
Have you guys seen the newish photos of that triangle craft over Oregon? You're not talking about third phase on the moon, are you? Military drone.
No.
Having a feeling that the triangles are man-made. Because I'm going to cover that probably midweek, those cases. I think I've got a bookmarked here. Hoax alert. Is that what you're talking about, this one? Even Scott Brando's onto it, so I'll probably be covering that sometime in midweek. I won't put it onto this episode, but apparently he thinks this is a toy that you can buy, because I noticed they put out a second video, so I'll be covering that and later on, not today anyway, and plus some other stuff here. So we'll just read out this case here. I have done some graphics analysis on it, and I think I can see a fishing line. So it could be a toy. It could be a lead kite as well. I thought because of the design of it, and also it could be one of these RC remote control flying wings. But as Earl pointed out, he had a really good triangle case, which he probably just missed as he's just left. So you probably have to go back and have a listen to it. But anyway, well, let's...
Yeah, it was interesting, yeah.
Let's have a look at this 67 case.
1967 abduction of Herbert Schimmer. As patrolman Schimmer passed through the intersection of Highway 6 and Highway 63 on the outskirts of Ashland, he saw what appeared to be red lights on a large truck stopped a short way down Highway 63. He decided to check it out. He drove the short distance down 63 and stopped with his headlights shining on the object. According to Schimmer, the object was definitely not a truck. The red lights that he had seen were blinking through the oval portholes of a metallic, oval-shaped object.
Oh. Sounds a bit like Close Encounter movie, doesn't it? Of the third kind.
Yeah.
Buff Ledge Camp Abduction. Yeah, don't go camping.
Mm-hmm.
You either get attacked by Bigfoot now, or go missing, or abducted by aliens.
1969 The Buff Ledge Camp Abduction. Only 7.5 years after the Betty and Barney Hale story, the New England states would again host an alien abduction. Buff Ledge in Vermont would be the site of a visitation by 4 UFOs which would make revolutionary aerial maneuvers. 2 counselors would suffer missing time and seek professional help.
Don't say much there though, does it? Pascagoula case.
You know that one.
Yeah, we know that one now. I covered that a bit. Abduction of Sergeant Charles.
Yeah.
I've not heard of that one, I don't think.
I've heard of it, but I don't.
1975 The abduction of Sergeant Charles L. Moody. Alamogordo, New Mexico would be the location of a UFO encounter involving Air Force Sergeant Charles L. Moody on August 13, 1975. Moody was in the desert observing a meteor shower at about 1:15 a.m. when he saw a glowing, metallic, disc-shaped object falling toward the ground about 300 feet away.
So it didn't say much there too, and then we got Travis Fulton.
Nah, there's not enough detail on that.
Is that all we've got though? We could do a search, see if anything else comes up.
Well, of course you can.
There we go. UFO casebook, that's normally quite good.
Okay.
Okay, there's quite a bit here. Oh, quite a lot. So this, they're just recapping one's, probably the first paragraph, was it? So, we might just go down here then and see how it goes.
Alamogordo, New Mexico would be the location of a UFO encounter involving Air Force Sergeant Charles L. Moody on August 13, 1975. Moody was in the desert observing a meteor shower at about 1:15 a.m. when he saw a glowing, metallic, disc-shaped object falling toward the ground about 300 feet away. The UFO was about 50 feet long and 18 to 20 feet wide. As it descended to an altitude of 15 to 20 feet, it wobbled on its own axis. Then it began moving slowly and steadily toward Moody. He jumped into his car but was unable to start it. The UFO came to a stop about 70 feet away. Moody could hear a high-pitched humming sound. He noticed a rectangular window in the craft through which he could see shadows resembling human forms. The noise stopped and he felt a numbness crawling over his body. The next thing he would remember was seeing the object rising up into the sky and disappearing into the distance. Moody turned the ignition key and his car started immediately. Terrified, he drove off quickly. When he arrived home, he noticed, to his surprise, that the time was 3:00 a.m. He felt that he had somehow lost about 1.5 hours. The following day Moody experienced a pain in his lower back. Within a few days, a rash broke out over his lower body. Upon the recommendation of a physician, he began to practice self-hypnosis in an effort to recall what had occurred during the lost time period. Over the next few weeks, he was able to piece together an almost complete picture of the events. According to Moody's subsequent recollection, after being overcome by numbness on August 13, 1975, he had observed 2 beings approaching his car. About 6 feet tall, the creatures wore skin-tight black clothing. After a brief scuffle with them, he was rendered unconscious. He awoke on a slab inside the craft. His limbs felt leaden and immovable. Next to him stood the alien leader.
How does he know he's the leader?
Yeah, he doesn't know that. It's just his feeling, I guess, you know.
So he said black overalls, was it? Black clothing. Which is very interesting, because if you look at that Mojo video, they're clearly wearing black skin-tight clothing from what I could see in the enhancement of the video that I did. You remember that? Talked about it enough, where you could see the alien head only, but you couldn't see the rest of the body or the arms. You could see the hands also come out. So yeah, what else we got here? 6 feet tall. That's fairly big. So that must be the tall greys, is it? So let's just read out a wee bit more here. Alien leader. Alright, I'll read out that bit again anyway.
About 6 feet tall, the creatures wore skin-tight black clothing. After a brief scuffle with them, he was rendered unconscious. He awoke on a slab inside the craft. His limbs felt leaden and immovable. Next to him stood the alien leader. The latter was distinguishable from Moody's 2 captors by his short stature of about 5 feet and the silvery white color of his suit. However, like the others, he had a large hairless head, a protruding brow, roundish eyes, small ears and nose, and very thin lips. His skin was whitish grey. The leader asked Moody telepathically if he was prepared to behave peacefully. When Moody agreed to do so, the leader applied a rod-like device to his back which relieved the paralysis.
Sounds like my back thing that was going on. Except for they knocked me out, so I didn't feel the needle going in. Whether that was true or not, I don't know. It's kind of crazy dream, if it was.
Moody was taken to another part of the ship where he was shown the drive unit, a device consisting of a large rod surrounded by 3 glass canopied holes. Each hole contained a central crystalline object with 1 rod on each side of it. One rod had a spherical head, while the other was topped by a T-bar. As he moved about the craft, Moody noticed a sweet, stifling odor. He was told that the alien mothership was situated miles away above Earth. He was promised a future meeting with the occupants, but warned that closer contact with Earthmen would not be attempted for another 20 years. The aliens told Moody that he would have no recollection of the incident until about 2 weeks later. The leader placed his hands on the sides of Moody's head, rendering him unconscious once more. An analysis of Moody's claims by Charles McQuiston, co-inventor of the psychological stress evaluator, indicated that he was telling the truth. Investigator Jim Lorenzine, however, questions a couple of contradictions in Moody's accounts of the incident. In an early telling, Moody related that the alien mothership was located 400 miles above Earth.
So, you had an alien touch you on the neck. Did you pass out when it happened, or?
No, I didn't. I don't know what was touching on my neck, whether it was an instrument or whether it was just prodding me with its finger. But when I lashed out, I actually felt I think its skin,
Right.
which felt like sandpaper.
Weird. So he's got shark skin.
But it didn't look to the eye. It didn't look smooth enough to the eye.
So that you didn't actually black out though, did you? Like I did.
No, I did after it actually made eye contact. No.
Oh, right.
And that's when I was feeling everything's okay. It's all fine. You can go back to sleep, kind of message, and
Yep.
I don't know how that worked, but how am I supposed to be going back to sleep? It's okay when there's an alien in my bedroom.
Trevor's fallen. I suppose that's the big one. What's this? Oh, right. Looks like they changed the headings further down for some reason. There we go, 1976, Stratford, Kentucky ones. Wasn't that what we call goblins? Hang on. Bright red lights. Oh, that one there, and what do you call it? All Gash Abductions. That was a good one, wasn't it? I will just read out a bit of that anyway. Stanford, Kentucky. That wasn't the Goblin one, was it? Abducted near Stanford, a woman, 3 women. Okay, let's have a read of that one. We might have to look up more details in those ones.
Yeah.
Probably these probably some of the old cases you'll probably be going over too, won't it? I'll just read out that bit anyway. I've got that tickle in the throat coming back again. It's
1976, the Stanford, Kentucky abductions. While America was still buzzing over the Travis Walton abduction, 3 women are abducted near Stanford, Kentucky. Heading for Houstonville on Highway 78, they suddenly see a bright, red object in the clear night sky, turning a nice evening into a night of terror. Read about this in-depth investigation here. 1976, the Allagash abductions. The Allagash waterway incident would involve multiple witnesses. 4 artists were enjoying a canoeing trip on the Allagash waterway when their pleasant evening was turned into a nightmare. A nightmare of missing time and alien abduction. At first only missing time, and then forgetfulness. Finally a connection is made, and little by the details become known in this compelling case of alien abduction. 1976, the Chmont Forest abduction. Robert Taylor was 61 years old at the time that he had the most unusual encounter of his life. He had worked as a forester all of his adult life in the Chmont Woods located in Livingston, West Lothian, Scotland. On the morning of Friday, November the 9th, 1979, he and his red setter rounded a corner on the forest trail and saw an unbelievable sight, a UFO. The object appeared to be hovering just above the forest floor. It made no sound and seemed to be motionless.
Is that the one where it sends out these little robots with little grabber arms on it and grabs the leg of them? Is that the one? Robert, are you there?
Yeah, I'm looking at it and no, I don't think it is.
What was that one called then? I remember had a little pinch.
Yeah, abductions has never been my thing. It's really a specialist subject within ufology. It's never been my thing. But I know the one you're talking about. That's when he released some kind of powder or gas, which it's when he was hiding up a tree, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was in the
no,
60s, I think.
No, that wasn't that one. This was in Scotland as well, I think, or UK Highlands or something. He saw a UFO and these things come out of that had sort of like they're like balls on sticky legs, and at the end of it was these pincher things, and they tried to grab hold of his legs and drag him into the UFO or something. Kind of strange one. So let's see, is that the one here? Robert Taylor incident. Looks like Scotland. Returned home for a trip. He claimed to had encounters with a flying dome, which tried to pull him aboard. Yeah, it must be that one. Due to his injuries, the police recorded the matter as a common assault. And incident.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we got any pictures of it. I'm pretty sure it's that one. It's got little pinches on the end of these robots or whatever it was. So where's images more? Oh, there. Oh, here we go. Didn't it leave impressions in the ground or something? It sounded like it was fake to me, but I don't know. It's probably one of the most craziest ones I've heard.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's him. Here we go. These things here. Little spiky things, but they had little grabber things and tried to grab hold of his leg and drag him in UFO.
That's right. His trousers were torn and everything.
Yeah, that's right. Here we go. How would they manage to grab him though? If it's a rotating ball things with little feet everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a strange story. Wasn't that debunked somehow? That he faked it using a wheelbarrow or something? I can't remember with But why would he fake it though? Probably one of these.
Yeah,
We probably have to do some research on this one and recount it better, I think.
okay.
Yeah. And of course, we got this one coming up here, the Whitley Schreiber. How do you say his name? This one is a strange one. Abduction. This one's the most scary one, though. And we got the one under that one, the likely more alien. Okay, let's read out those ones. It's definitely a lot of abduction stories. That's right. Father and son abduction. That seems to ring a bell. Did we cover that one, perhaps? Linda Castle abduction. Well, let's just...
Yeah, we've covered that one, Paul, in a previous live.
Well, yeah, they seem to ring a bell, so we'll just play it.
1985, the Whitley Strieber abduction. Well-known writer Whitley Strieber would be abducted by aliens while in his isolated cabin in upstate New York over the Christmas season of 1985. He encountered 4 types of alien beings, which subjected him to medical tests. 1987, the Ilkley alien. A policeman named Philip Spencer claims to have taken a picture of an alien being. If this is true, it is one of only a few in existence. The scary Ilkley Moor in Yorkshire, England would hold the secret of the strange creature encountered one early morning. Godfrey was frightened, but ran after the creature, taking one photograph. See it here. Through hypnosis, he would recall an odd flying object and an alien abduction. 1988, father and son abducted. John Salter Jr. and his son are abducted by benevolent aliens. One of the few cases in which alien abduction turned out to be a good thing. Medical experimentation has a happy ending, with improved health for both abductees. 1989, Linda Cortile Napolitano abduction. An extremely compelling case of alien abduction is that of Linda Napolitano. Napolitano has claimed that she was abducted by the so-called Greys, who floated her from a closed bedroom window into a hovering UFO. As time went by, several different eyewitnesses came forward to substantiate her claims. Several bystanders, including a well-known politician, actually see the incident.
Yep, that's the one we covered in a bit of detail on a few lives back, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
So this guy, have we got... Where's this photograph? Let's have a look at the photograph. They said, click here for the image. Obviously, it's a scrape site. Oh, this is it, is it? Oh, okay.
Oh, that was the photograph, which I don't know, apparently turned out to be a bush.
A bush? What, a sculptured bush, you mean? Where they carve it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of looks a bit fuzzy for an alien.
That's just what I've heard. You know,
it looks like a back of a looks like a back of a dog head, though, doesn't it? I don't know. Kind of strange looking. Yes. Not the usual alien grey, though, is it? So obviously they've done some enhancements on it here.
Yeah, so when he actually took the photograph, he was convinced that whatever it was green in colour, which it shows on your right-hand side there.
Yeah. Looks different there to the other one we looked at that's been enhanced.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I could do much with it. I probably want to get hold of the original images. But yeah.
So people have been attempting for years to get to the bottom of this one, so I don't suppose there'd be much you can do with it with what you can find off the internet, as you said, unless you have the original.
That must be where they enhanced it from the original here. Look, it does look like it's going up a path though. But if it's faked, he's made a pot plant or something in the shape of an alien and put it up there. It's kind of strange. Never heard of that one though. Maybe I have, but I've just forgotten about it. some of these things are easy to forget. Well, there seems to be a lot of talk on that one. Of course, this one here has been debunked as well. I've done it in previous lives. That turns out to be, if you work out the height of her mum, she's actually walking up a hill behind her. And that's just the back of her hair and a white hat that she was wearing. And that's just the back of her dress. They got hold of...
Because Kodak were absolutely certain whatever it was floating off the ground.
No, it's not. They did enhancements. You can see it's just definitely a woman. So I've covered it in previous lives anyway. I'm not going to go over it again. Okay. But definitely it was her mother. Some guys did some good enhancements on it. Because a lot of the images online are pretty like second generation. Yeah, so what was the other stories that we had here? Kelly Cashel Abduction. But this looks like it scraped it from other websites and put it onto its own page. Probably just to put Abduction in Wales. There we go, we got one down there in 1997. So we might just have a read of those ones and probably wrap up for the day.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fairly good stream. I have to see how good the audio come out though.
Okay.
It's a bit hard to tell at this end. But I think I did hear some clipping sounds, so...
1993 The Kelly Cahill abduction. In August 1993, 27-year-old Kelly Cahill, her husband, and 3 children were driving home after a visit to a friend's house. Their routine journey would soon become a harrowing trip into an unknown world of strange beings that occupied space but were void of colour as we know it. The Dandenong foothills, near Victoria, Australia, would be forever linked to one of the strangest creatures in ufological archives. 1997 abduction in Wales. One of the weirdest cases reported to the Welsh Federation of Independent Ufologists is the multiple sighting of UFOs on the same night, except one family got too close for comfort and were apparently abducted. The strange and disturbing events began to unfold when for several nights an elderly man living in Little Orme, Conwy, was troubled by what he called frightening beams of light over the Great Orme.
Is your video still working?
Yeah.
I
know where Conwy is. I know where the Great Orme is as well. And funny enough, I've never heard of this case with Kelly Cahill.
Oh, okay. Is your video still working or is it locked up? It's on black and white. I think it's locked up.
Black and white.
I think it's locked up on you. But I noticed Earl was dropping in and out a wee bit there. But he's on Wi-Fi as well. Abduction in Wales. I think that's all we got on it. Let's see what we can find out on that one anyway. That one there about the 3 children's interesting too though. Have to look more into those. Near Victoria, Australia.
Oh, that okay. That's okay. Who is the person involved in the Welsh case then?
Oh yeah, looking up that one. See if we can find out any more.
I got mixed up there.
Yeah, I was just saying the other one before it, the Cahill one's Australia.
Yeah.
Well, I used to have... what's happened to your video there? Oh. You're gone completely now. What's going on? We're just getting a white screen. Oh, here we go. Abduction in Wales. Remarkable case of alien abduction. It looks like a triangle craft, is it? Or a square block of some kind, is it? Beaming up a car. Well, let's have a read of it, I guess. Last one. What was I going to say? It was something else. Alien abductions are quite interesting, I find, because they're not all the same. They're similar, but happen in different locations and stuff. You know, why?
Everyone is unique.
Yeah.
A remarkable case of alien abduction with missing time comes from Wales. Multiple sightings of UFOs on one night, preceded by several nights of unusual light beams reported over the Great Orme, are related to us by well-known investigator Margaret Fry. The events of November the 10th, 1997 centre on one unfortunate family who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. For a brief period of time, they entered an unknown realm of otherworldly beings. The family was driving along on the Bodfair/London Nog Road when all of a sudden their car was engulfed by purple. A purple craft seemed to join itself to their automobile. The next clear memory any of the family had was that the craft was suddenly gone. Like it just disappeared into thin air. The family was again driving down the road, resuming their journey except for the feeling of the loss of time. But they could not account for considerable hours of time lost, said Fry. The male was having trouble afterwards with a top molar tooth, and he had to go to the dentist's. And a black unknown object fell out while he was at the dentist's, but he had no fillings, she said. Shortly afterward, the male driver of the car reported the strange happenings to local authorities. Soon he was visited on 2 different occasions by Air Force personnel. They warned the man to never speak of the events of November the 10th, 1997 publicly.
Men in Black, eh?
These visits are very similar to tales in America of the infamous Men in Black. The strange purple craft and missing time experience by the family was told only to a friend, who in turn related the event to investigator Fry. The names of the individuals involved remain anonymous. The case of the alleged abduction is extremely interesting in the light of the reports of the strange light beams and another eerie encounter of the same night. A local businessman would corroborate the 2 other sightings with a bizarre report of his own. The man claimed to see a strange craft on the same road as the abducted family's encounter took place. He described the craft as enormous and the shape of a child's spinning top. He was able to draw a sketch of what he observed that night, while stopping to look at a UFO as big as a football field. The UFO, a classic saucer-shaped object, was seen hovering over buildings in the village of Llandanog. He claimed that the large craft had a myriad of lit windows, and was large enough to be a mothership capable of transporting hundreds of people. What was this enormous ship seen that night, except a visitor from another world? The case has never been explained by any earthly object or conventional means, and remains a mystery to this day. B.J. Booth.
BBC Northeast. But that doesn't look like a classic flying saucer, though, does it? That looks like a triangle there with the...
It doesn't, not there. Yeah, it's either a square block, as you say, or triangle, because we can't see the other side.
Kind of looks like it might be a triangle, though.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. So, triangle craft might be human technology, as they were saying, because, as you know, ceramics, when they're super cooled, like superconductors, and they sort of levitate, they have a greater magnetic repellent when they're super cooled, and of course having pipes underneath the triangle craft running nitrogen, I guess, liquid nitrogen would keep it frozen all the time, or below a certain temperature at least. So, yeah. Like you said, the difference between triangle craft with all these pipes and things on it kind of makes it sound man-made versus alien craft that's got seamless skin. So, yeah, I'm not sure what other people think about that idea. But certainly interesting stuff. I think that was it on that. I suppose we should really wrap up for the day, but we're getting more people joining us now, are we? We'd But hopefully more people will join us, because we're getting less debunky, hopefully anyway. But you got to have that skeptical thing. You got to sort of have some debunking and say, well, where the red flags are, and do the red flags nullify the whole case or not. So yeah, I see Hella. Have you watched all the Hella ones, or did you give up on it?
I gave it a pop. Third one, you know.
Yeah, it's because you don't understand what they were doing, I think. But on the second series, apparently they get contacted by the guy again. The emails start happening again 14 months after they ceased. So they go back in and investigate, I guess. Sorry, you broke up.
Seems staged to me, that's all.
You reckon it's staged? I don't know. We'll find out, I guess, in season 2.
Yeah.
The headset thing is just where paranormal can actually communicate via your radio, pretty much.
It's a bit pseudo-sciencey, though, isn't it?
No, not really, because the voice that happens is across multiple bands, which can't happen with a single radio channel. So you do actually hear on the paranormal shows. So if you've ever watched them use the voice boxes with the radio switching, but in this case they put the blinkers on, and the guy doesn't hear what the people are talking about, and he just listens to the radio and repeats any voices that he hears. So when the people outside are asking questions to the spirits or Bigfoot or whatever, and then he gets replies back, and they got the replies back of stuff that was going to happen in the future to them. So yeah, it does get a bit more interesting as it progresses, but they don't find any answers in the first season anyway. We have to see if they find the answers in the second season. But yeah, I don't know if it's staged or not, or partly drama or acted. Because they list it on their channel as entertainment and rather than some other topic, I suppose. But that's YouTube for you. Everyone's panicking now what they should list their channel as, I guess. They list it as science and technology, and they make a show like that, whether it be classed as pseudoscience or conspiracy, and have their channel deleted. Who knows? So yeah, I wonder why you suddenly lost your video there. That's really, really strange.
Yeah, it's still gone as well.
Yeah, it normally comes back, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But doesn't matter. We'll be wrapping up now anyway. So I'll just disconnect from you and catch you up on Facebook in a minute, I guess. And I'll wind down the credits here and.
Okay, bye, Paul.
Okay,
Thanks,
bye. So that's using the new Jitsi thing. Robotic. And lost video. Needs more buffers. Maybe robotic. I don't know, I can't quite see. It's open source, so it can only get better, can't it? I don't even know if they listen to that at all. So yeah, I'm just going to wind down now, guys, and thanks for joining us, Justin, and was it Justin? Renee, who else did we have? Oh, we've got someone else there. MRF Aliens. Thanks for joining us, and I think there was someone else as well. So I'll say good night. Please like and share. Helps us out for free. At the moment, Google's suppressing my channel quite a bit. Lucky to get 50 views out of 400 odd videos up. So something going on. We found out that only 5% of my subscribers down here had notifications turned on. So 5% is not very much. And of course, those 5% don't all show up either. So yeah, I'll just switch switch to the end credits and say goodnight to everybody.